The moonlight snatched a luxurious estate from the darkness. It was in the Rafon Empire. There were 2 glasses of exquisite red wine on the table. The man ordered the blonde to raise her head, adjusting his raven-colored hair. The handsome man asked why his wife was acting as if she had done something wrong. The girl was in a desperate situation. Lionel Gideon was the ruler of the Raffian Empire. The emperor was the ruler of the most powerful state on the northern continent. Gideon assumed that his wife was hiding something from him. A smirk appeared on the emperor's face. It all started from the moment when our heroine, as a servant in charge of the bathroom, arrived in the master's bedroom as a replacement for the empress. The events are transferred to 2 days ago. Zelda asked her colleague to clean more thoroughly. The girl reminded that it was necessary to change the scented oil. Bonus reported that the princess had not even shown herself lately. Zelda assured that she could not remain idle until Her Highness arrived. The maid knew it was best to prepare everything in advance. Bonnie reported that the prince had ordered her to come to his office. The girl told her friend that she had to go to the prince immediately. The friend helped the head maid out of the room. The maid wondered why the prince had suddenly called her. Zelda assumed that the boy would order her to do something strange. The colleagues looked at the girl with unkind eyes and discussed her. They believed that the maid's place was in the toilet. The maid couldn't understand why the prince always looked after the lowly brat. The brunette admitted that every time she saw this girl, she was torn apart by anger. The maid approached the door and knocked hesitantly. The prince ordered her to come in. Tesler grinned and said that he had almost died while waiting for her. He stood up abruptly from his comfortable chair. His Highness leaned his elbows on the table, addressing the maid. The guy assumed that she was glad to see them after a long time. Approaching the girl, Tesler said that he had found an excellent opportunity for her. Laughing hypocritically, he said that he was the only one who cared about her. The master asked Zelda to marry Emperor Raffian. The maid's face suddenly turned pale. Her amethyst eyes narrowed in shock. Tesler gently kissed the girl's hand, roughened by hard work. He assured her that he could trust only her. Zelda asked the prince to wait a little. The maid assumed that Latzilia had no intention of taking her place. Covering his face, the prince explained that the princess had disappeared a week ago. The girl clarified what had happened. Tesler reported that the noblewoman had fled with a hired knight. The prince realized that he should not have let the mercenaries into the royal palace. The boy said that the maid would be able to resolve the situation. Zelda realized that their kingdom was unable to refuse the request of the Raffian Empire. She understood that to explain the current situation, she would have to go back in time about 300 years. Long ago, the continent was one whole. For 3 days, lightning struck the earth and split the land into 2 parts. Between the separated lands, a ravine of death appeared. Terrible creatures settled there. To protect the country from the wyverns, military power was needed. Chatnel urgently needed the help of the Raffian Empire. The young Emperor Linnell offered a wedding with the kingdom of Châteauneuf. The reason was an unbreakable alliance. This was a very generous condition, since the bride did not have to be a princess. The prince pierced Zelda with his sky-blue eyes. The boy explained that if they missed the offer, another country would immediately seize it. He explained that the situation would change if the maid married the emperor. Tesler asked the girl to hold out until Latzilia returned. A very nervous Zelda reminded him that she was only the king's maid who was in charge of the bathroom. The girl brushed her hair away from her face, revealing her scar. The maid assured that the emperor would never love such a bride. The gentleman said that if Agna becomes empress, he will be able to give her a magic potion that will remove the scar. His Highness said that he had only recently learned of this. Tesler said that there was a potion that could hide the scars. The guy assured her that if she could play the role of the empress, he would give her a magic potion. The prince guaranteed that the emperor would never see the girl's flaw. Tesler assured that the marriage could be called off a little later. A picture of memories flashed before the girl's eyes. A small tremor ran through her body. Zelda remembered how she got the scar. The prince asked the worker if she was ready to agree. The commoner understood that she would have to marry the emperor. Zelda wondered if the emperor could divorce her without knowing that she was only a substitute. Tesler assured that everything would be resolved when the princess returned and the emperor saw her. The girl understood that she had lost to Latzilia in both beauty and pedigree. The prince chuckled and said that the girl had no reason to worry. He told her that Gideon had been castrated. Tesler assured that it would not be difficult to divorce someone who cannot satisfy his wife. The prince informed her that if she did not want to give up her place to the empress, her scar would be revealed that very second. Zelda assumed he was threatening her. The guy laughed and asked why she was thinking so darkly. He promised to give the girl a medicine that would rid her of the scar forever. The maid asked in surprise whether such a potion existed. The gentleman grinned and said that this would be payment for the completed task. Zelda said that she would do it. The girl asked to keep her promise in return. Tesla promised the maid to give the potion before the wedding. The commoner asked when she would leave the palace. The guy grinned and said that it would happen that day. He explained that he expected her to agree. The prince assured her that he had prepared a carriage in advance. The girl realized that Tesla was a bastard. She fully realized what was happening when Gideon turned to her. The emperor said that they should first look at each other. Touching her cheek, the emperor reminded her that their wedding night was approaching. The handsome man pushed her down onto the bed. Gideon informed her that she should not be nervous, as he was about to perform his first duty as a husband. The girl realized that the emperor had not been castrated. Zelda asked again with a trembling voice. The girl realized that everything turned out completely differently than the prince had said. The commoner did not expect that she would have to spend her wedding night. The wife knew she had to do this to the emperor. Gideon said he knew she didn't like him very much. The husband hesitated a little and said that he was not attracted to the girl either. The wife assumed that the guy considered her not beautiful enough. The emperor explained that her gloomy face would not help their relationship. The girl felt as if a statue that was pleasing to the eye was talking to her. Zelda hoped she could dissuade her husband. Tears appeared on her face. The emperor asked his wife if she had listened to him. The girl asked what he was talking about. The aristocrat asked her not to talk to him as if she was ready to cry. Gideon adjusted his hair and asked why the service was so important. The guy said that the traditional wedding night was very exhausting. He hoped that the empress would not misunderstand him. Sparkles appeared in the commoner's eyes. Zelda thought her husband was cold and indifferent. The girl realized that the handsome man looked like a reasonable and kind person. Smiling, the empress said that there was no misunderstanding, since they were now spouses. She explained that the emperor could say something like that. The girl understood that she just had to hold out until the real princess returned. Zelda dreamed of continuing her life without a scar. The emperor noticed that his wife was quite talkative, unlike her previous one. The aristocrat asked his wife if she believed in God. A few moments later, there was a knock at the door. Gideon guessed who it was. The boy was sure that the kingdom of Châteauneuf had been informed of this. Because of this introduction, the empress felt uneasy. There was tension in the air. He explained that there was a tradition in the empire of showing priests their becoming husbands. Clutching the blanket tightly, the girl asked if their wedding night would be held in the presence of priests. Zelda's face turned pale. Knocking on the door, the priests asked if they could come in. The ruler practically gave permission for the spouse to stop him. Gideon assured him not to worry. The guy said he planned to end it all with the imitation. The emperor said that it would be enough for his wife to hold out for a little while. He raised the rough curtains around the bed. Gideon said that the priests could come in. The guy said that the priests would only see their silhouettes. The emperor announced that they would come out after the blessing song. Gideon tied his robe and announced that she would have to assist. The handsome man grinned and said that they would have to kiss to deceive the priests. The guy hoped for Zelda's understanding. The wife understood that kissing was not the worst outcome of events. The emperor ordered the ceremony to begin. The priests began to read the prayer. The girl felt as if her body was on fire. The handsome man advised his wife to close her eyes. Zelda assumed that the priest's prayer had worked. The girl understood that something like this could happen after a burn. The husband said that she should not exaggerate. The substitution had the feeling that it was a symptom of an uninvited guest who came without an invitation. Gideon grinned and told his wife that she had played superbly. A painful sensation was spreading through her body. The handsome man suddenly kissed the girl and she felt the heat suddenly subside. The empress asked if everyone had left. The guy said that it happened quite a long time ago. He assumed that his wife did not pay attention because of the passionate kisses. Gideon asked the empress not to move. The aristocrat suddenly kissed his wife. The guy could not understand why this was happening. The events moved to the Château de Châteaunel. The prince, holding a glass of wine, ponders how Emperor Gideon's first night went. Tesla snorted that not a single normal girl would even look at the emperor. The knight asked if it was worth telling the girl about the tradition of the imperial family of Pharaoh regarding the wedding night. The prince ordered his subordinate to stop talking nonsense and get down to the report. The return of the wyverns from the ravine of death was on the horizon. The boy realized that it was time to prepare. He knew that with the return of the wyvern, war would begin. Tesla knew that their kingdom needed the support of the Raffian Empire. The guy decided to use a scapegoat. The prince understood that this would last until Lacilia was found. The knight asked the gentleman what he was going to do later. Tesla was not sure what to do with the substitution. The emperor could understand why he felt warm from touching her. The girl did not guess why the boy's touch was so refreshing. After receiving the burn, Zelda was thrown into a fever. The maid often woke up at night from nightmares due to the heat. When the girl took a cold bath, the water boiled. No treatment could reduce the fever. The commoner lived for a long time with the feeling that she was being burned alive at the stake. The girl could not understand why, after the emperor's touch, all the heat subsided. Gideon asked if his wife could relax. The husband said that she should let go of his hand if she did not intend to rip his limb out. The maid realized that she almost became the worst replacement for the empress who breaks the emperor's arm. Pressing the girl to the bed, the emperor asked who she really was. The maid's voice trembled. Confusion and horror were visible in her amethyst eyes. The aristocrat laughed and said that it was not a question. The handsome man said that he could not always control himself. The guy admitted that he couldn't stop. The emperor was amazed at how warm his wife was. Taking her hand, Gideon said that he had lived in the cold all his life. He said that after touching Zelda, it seemed to him that he had encountered spring for the first time. The emperor explained that he wanted to make sure of this again. The girl could not understand what her husband wanted to convey to her. The aristocrat assumed that the prince had not reported it. Gideon chuckled that this was the reason for the rumors that the wedding was a lie. The guy assumed that his wife knew about the war that took place in the Gorge of Death. The emperor reported that after a long battle they saw a chance for victory. He was sure that he would win on that battlefield. At that moment, the mage of the southern continent appeared. Instinctively, the emperor wanted to get rid of the Dark Lord. The warrior rushed at the villain without thinking, clutching his sword tightly. Gideon reported that as a result of the sudden attack, a curse was placed on him. The guy lowered his eyes and said that he was completely frozen. The curse had locked the emperor in ice until his death. The aristocrat reported that thanks to his magical power, he was able to avoid the full effect of the curse. He explained that his body temperature had become too low. The husband said that after touching Zelda, he felt as if his whole body was melting. The girl couldn't believe that the temperature became normal when they touched each other. Zaida didn't dare to reveal her secret. She understood that she was only a substitute for the empress. Putting her hand on her chest, the empress hoped that her husband felt calmer. Gently kissing her hand, the guy assumed that she felt it too. The maid realized that her husband was not like the others. The girl suggested going to bed because they had a lot to do the next day. The empress's replacement was unable to sleep peacefully. The guy approached his beloved, telling her that they were spouses. The handsome man asked if he could hold her hand without asking permission. Zelda's face flushed. The emperor reported that he had not been able to sleep for a long time without the magic stone to keep him warm. Clutching her husband's hand tightly, the girl realized that his voice sounded like a lullaby. Opening her eyes, the empress saw several girls in front of her. The worker said that they were her personal servants. The blonde said that she came to help the empress adapt faster. The aristocrat asked the girls to introduce themselves. Having made a curtsy, the brunette said her name and origin, after which each of the girls repeated this action. Rosie apologized for interrupting the empress's sleep. The lady said that at the very first meeting in the morning she wanted to ask something. Zelda asked who dared to let them into the bedroom without her permission. The empress was amazed that the imperial estate had been in such disarray since the morning. The girl did not know how long she would be an aristocrat. She couldn't let the workers treat her like a fool. Smiling, Melanie said that she had done it. The lady hissed with irritation, assuming that she had let herself in. Zelda understood that the brunette had to be dealt with first, the girls who were chosen as servants by His Majesty. The worker explained that they had the right to enter. The empress was amazed that they dared to enter her bedroom without permission and knocking. The maid reported that not every day was a wedding night. The maid bowed and promised that this would never happen again. The girls said that they would do Her Highness's morning makeup. Smiling, Melanie said that His Highness has very high standards of beauty. The maid assured that the emperor would not even look at someone who looked ugly. With some distrust, Zelda asked whether her husband really was like that. Melanie explained that the emperor was very indifferent and cold. For a long time, the emperor did not allow girls to approach him. The worker reported that the emperor loved only elegance. The empress expected such a reaction. The girl understood that she came from a weak and dependent kingdom. The empress informed the workers that she needed help. The lady assured that she did not feel any coldness from her husband. She tried to stand up, leaning on a column. Rosie asked Her Highness if everything was okay. Embarrassed, Zelda said that she was sure that her husband was close to the woman. The Empress assured that they would understand her condition when they themselves got married. Melanie, breaking into a scream, reminded them that they were now her servants. The mistress reported that she had not yet approved of this choice. The girl said that she should discuss this with His Highness at the moment. The Empress asked if the girls had any questions left. Smiling, Zelda advised the workers to leave quickly. The lady was amazed that there had been some kind of war since the morning. Someone suddenly knocked on the door. The Empress sighed heavily and allowed them to enter. The girl did not have time to enjoy her morning tea and cakes. Having bowed, the worker asked Her Highness if she had slept well. The girl gave her name and said that she would accompany her. The aristocrat thanked Sharon for helping her prepare for the wedding. Smiling, the maid said that she was doing her duty. Sharon noticed the ladies leaving the room. The assistant asked what had happened. Zelda assured her that it was nothing serious. The girl asked what criteria were used to select the imperial maids. The assistant explained that the ministers selected the young ladies and then delivered the list to Gideon. The girl realized that usually the wife recommends servants for selection. The worker said with a smile that His Highness asked to convey the words. The husband invited her to Zelda to dine together in the palace. Smiling, the assistant asked if she should prepare water for bathing. The Empress realized that Gideon was worried about getting up before her. The lady asked that the water not be heated. Sharon warned that the Empress might be cold. The girl asked to choose a dress in which she would walk. The visibly nervous assistant informed her that the dress had been chosen by the maids. Zelda assured her that the dress that suited her best would be enough. The Empress said that she trusted the girl's intuition. With shining eyes, Sharon assured that she would make every effort. The girl wanted to choose the most beautiful dress for her mistress. The Empress, embarrassed, said that clothes of the right size would be enough for her. Zelda noted that there was still some time left before lunch. The girl suggested going into the office first. The worker bowed her head and greeted the lady. The Empress asked what was the matter. The maid reported the arrival of a visitor. He asked for an audience with Her Highness. The Duke was waiting for Zelda in the study. Rohan tenderly kissed the girl's hand. Zelda realized that from that day on her destiny began anew. The guest had become rich through trade. The Duke had arrived as Minister of Foreign Affairs. The boy was assigned to Zelda as an observer. Rohan never looked at the maid. The Empress realized that there was a reason for this. The lady decided to ask directly about the guest's intentions. The girl offered the Duke to sit down. She clarified what Rohan wanted to tell her. The guest smiled and asked how the first wedding night had gone. The Duke assumed that the girl had some questions for him. The lady asked if the princess had been found. Zelda assured that she had not heard any news since she arrived at the palace. Rohan asked what answer the girl was expecting. The imperial woman's face turned pale. She wondered what the correct answer would be. Zelda knew that she should have said that she wanted the princess to be found. The girl understood that she was only a pitiful substitute for the Empress. Laughing, Rohan suggested that the replacement had already become attached to this place. The Empress realized that she had given away her emotions. The Duke smiled and asked her not to worry. The guy assured her that he would not tell Tesla about it. The girl realized that despite the fact that she was an aristocrat, she was looked down upon. Zelda understood that the Duke was the same, and served as Prince Tesla's hands and feet. The Empress understood that she had to defend her position herself. She noticed that the Duke was so careless. The lady reported that there were eyes and ears everywhere in the palace. The girl was ready to become a lady from an ordinary county. Zelda said that at the moment she wore the crown of the Empress. The replacement informed him that he had better watch his words. She reminded him that she was an illegitimate child in the family of an aristocrat and the ruler of the Raffian Empire. Rahani was amazed by her eloquence. The girl winced and said that they had not had a chance to talk. The Empress was amazed that he had not rehearsed his look for their conversation. Sharon entered the room with a radiant smile and asked how long she had to wait. The maid brought a lot of sweets and tea. The assistant reported that the head maid had detained her for a short time. The lady was glad that the assistant arrived on time. Winking, the worker told the lady that she wanted to know what they were doing. The girl explained that she wanted to clarify the Empress's favorite dish. Sharon assured that His Highness was very worried about his spouse. The substitution reported that it was very sweet of the guy. The Empress realized that her assistant was very smart. The girl understood what the Duke wanted to hear, and told the prince's messenger that the Emperor was infatuated with her. Zelda realized that for some time the guest would treat her with disdain. The aristocrat understood that it was time to end this conversation. The lady asked to be reminded what their conversation was about. The girl hoped that the Duke understood everything and would play his role correctly. Rahon apologized for his rudeness. He admitted that he was a poor judge of character. The guest reported that the prince was worried that her husband would bother the girl. The guy said that he would pass this message on to the gentleman. The empress asked her assistant how soon the dinner would be. Rohan reported that, contrary to his expectations, the conversation had been fascinating. The Duke promised to visit Zelda more often. The girl asked how long the guest would stay in the estate. The spy grinned and said that he intended to be nearby the whole time. The empress tried to concentrate as it was her first dinner with her husband. Bowing, the girl greeted His Highness. There was confusion in her amethyst eyes. She couldn't understand what the ladies were doing in the dining room. The maids bowed their heads and greeted Her Highness. Gideon nodded and asked his wife to sit down. The guy asked Zelda if she liked the empress's palace. The wife said that if it were renovated, it would become even more luxurious. The girl planned to get rid of the ladies who were standing next to the table. Seeing her confusion, the emperor clarified whether she liked a more luxurious thing. Zelda said that she wanted to gradually change the look of the palace so that it would look more like her. She said that she wanted to create a warm atmosphere with her affection. The emperor assumed that only Zelda could give him warmth. The girl said that her husband would also drop by from time to time and give her his warmth. The wife realized that she had started to roll and flirt with Gideon. Zelda asked him not to pay attention to what she said. The emperor promised to visit her often. The girl was amazed that the busy emperor would give such an answer. Gideon said that despite being busy, he still needed to sleep. The emperor wanted to spend a hot night with his wife. Raising a glass of wine, the handsome man said that he wanted to repeat what happened last night. Embarrassed, Zelda reported that there were strangers around. The empress assumed that her husband brought up this topic because he knew about her feelings. The girl hoped that the conversation about the servants would be successful. She clarified what the ladies did at their joint dinner. Gideon heard his wife call them. Melanie assured him that they had been told so. The emperor ordered to change all the servants of the empress's palace. The guy suggested that his wife change them herself. The lady wanted to object. Gideon ordered the girls to leave. He explained that he wanted to share this meal only with Her Highness. The guy suggested discussing a new set of servants at night. The emperor understands that she had a hard time last night. He explained that it was necessary to maintain energy. Zelda noticed that he played too convincingly. When the girls left the room, the aristocrat asked if he was to his wife's taste. Gideon assumed that this was why she forgot everything in a couple of days. The emperor reminded that this was their conversation before the wedding. The wife frantically assumed that he had seen her scar. The girl asked why the guy had gone there. The events are transferred to 2 days ago. In the houses, single windows were lit. The moon was half hidden behind the clouds. Zelda, covering her face with a hood, got out of the carriage. The Duke said that they were in front of the shop that Tesler had spoken of. The girl looked at the rundown shop with distrust. Rahane admitted that the place didn't look very good. The boy explained that the only thing that mattered was the talent of the shop owner. The Duke assured that the magician's abilities were enough to rid the girl of the scar. She decided to go and put the hood on her head. The replacement walked hesitantly towards the door. She stood at the entrance for a few moments. Entering the shop, the maid said that she wanted to receive an order. The seller said that the potion was ready and asked to follow him. The magician greeted the customer. He admitted that he had been waiting for her. Mr. Big informed her that she should try it first. The wizard assured her that after she saw the effect, he would tell her everything. The maid realized that it was a temporary cure that she had been told about. Zelda was glad that at least for a while she could get rid of the scar. Mr. Big handed the girl a mirror. The wizard asked her to look at the result. She looked at her reflection with admiration. For the first time in a long time, the maid was able to see her beautiful face without the scar. Zelda couldn't believe that she was able to get rid of it so easily. The girl couldn't believe that she had suffered for so long from such a trifle. The magician reminded that this was only a temporary effect. Mr. Big reported that at the request of a trusted person, he had prepared a potion that would last for a month. The shop owner asked to wait before the bottles with the potion were brought out. The girl was amazed that the gentleman had ordered only for a month. She expressed a desire to buy more. Mr. Big informed her that this was impossible because the potion was difficult to make. Zelda asked if it was possible to create a potion that would completely heal her scar. Smiling, the mage said that it was beyond his capabilities. The maid walked sadly into the hall. She wanted to heal the scar herself. The girl noticed the newspaper headline. The tabloids were discussing what the new empress looked like. Zelda was afraid that she would not be able to live up to the emperor's expectations. The maid clutched the newspaper tightly. The girl understood that writing such headlines was quite low. The stranger suddenly spoke to Zelda. The handsome man asked if she had learned about the emperor's tastes. The maid muttered through her teeth that Gideon had tastes like an ordinary man. The girl asked why he was using the informal form of address with her. Smiling, the stranger said that she knew nothing about him. He asked if the girl had underestimated the emperor's preference. The guy explained that Gideon's preferences were hardly ordinary. The girl rolled her eyes and said that he hardly knew the emperor well. The stranger asked with irritation why his interlocutor had switched to the informal form of address. Zelda suggested that he was familiar with His Highness's preferences. The handsome man snorted that she was not his type. The maid jumped up from her seat. The seller announced that the guest's order was ready. The girl hoped that her future husband would not be as rude as the stranger. She assured him that the empress did not like such people very much. The guy clarified. Did she know the empress personally? Smiling, she said that he was not her type. She assured him that he was not even her type. Gideon assumed that his wife remembered that day. Laughing, the emperor said that he could not forget the expression on her face. The girl was amazed that the aristocrat was in the shop when she arrived. He asked what medicine Zelda had taken that day. The empress could not understand why Prince Tesler had sent her to the shop personally. The girl could not understand why he could not organize a secret place for the meeting. The husband asked if everything was okay. The aristocrat remembered that on their wedding night his beloved was also quite pale. He was worried that he had not been attentive enough to his wife. The girl was able to breathe a sigh of relief, realizing that he had not noticed her scar. Embarrassed, Zelda assured him that she had gone there for a remedy to relieve fatigue. The empress asked the boy why he was in the shop. The girl understood that it would be better for her not to meet the emperor in that shop again. Gideon said he had bought some medicine for his hypothermia. He explained that he didn't want to disappoint his wife on the first night. Taking his beloved by the hand, the emperor said that it was not enough for him. The girl was very embarrassed. She realized that the emperor did not want to disappoint her, and because of this he went to the magic shop. Pressing himself against her, Gideon said that he wanted to look decent in her eyes. The guy was eager to match his woman's tastes. Laughing, the husband asked why his face was not to his beloved's taste. Embarrassed, Zelda asked for forgiveness. Smiling, the husband said that he was worried about her comfort. He reminded that this empire also belonged to his wife. The guy asked his beloved to eat quickly before the food got cold. The substitution could not understand why her husband was so worried about her. A hope flashed through the girl's soul that he liked her. She quickly dismissed this version. Zelda realized that their relationship was fictitious. The substitute understood that he was only concerned about her as the empress. She understood that she was only a substitute for the empress. Zelda bowed her head in thanks for the concern. The emperor informed her that he might need medicine. He grinned and said that the hottest empress was next to him. The handsome man asked if they would hold hands every night. Gideon asked if he could hope for that. It was late evening in the empire. Sharon reported that they had inspected the entire palace. The assistant reported that it was time for tea. With a radiant smile, the worker reported that all the ladies had already gathered at the table. The lady reported that she understood this, but she did not have time to catch her breath. Sharon suggested that Milady rest a little. Zelda noticed that all the rooms in the palace were huge and luxurious. The replacement understood that this place did not suit her at all. The girl did not know whether the princess would like the castle. The commoner wondered if Gideon would be as friendly with the real empress. Zelda knew she didn't have to worry about that. She sat down with the other ladies at the table. After tea, the girl relaxed in the bathroom. Zelda was surprised that the first day was so busy. The empress assumed that her husband had also been busy all day. She tried to push such thoughts away from herself. The girl assumed that Gideon would not come because they had already spent their wedding night. Zelda wondered if she should visit her husband to hold hands. She decided to leave the bathroom. A light fog filled the room. The girl took the candle and pointed it towards her room. Her body trembled as if she had been electrocuted. Everything went dark before her eyes. Zelda felt heat spreading through her body. She begged for someone to bring her water. The spouses ran up to the girl and kissed her passionately. The substitution felt the heat slowly subside. Gideon abruptly picked her up in his arms, asking if she had greeted him too hotly. Smiling, the handsome man said that he was afraid that she would lose consciousness. The guy asked if everything was okay. Zelda said that she suddenly felt hot. She assured that this could happen because of staying in the bathroom for a long time. The handsome man reported that he had managed to see the carefree empress. The girl awkwardly asked for forgiveness for the inconvenience. The emperor said there was no need to apologize. He explained that he was her husband. Zelda knew she should not hesitate or show emotion. Turning away, the substitute said that it was better for her lover to leave. Gideon asked if everything was okay with her health. The girl was afraid that such behavior could anger him. Taking her hand firmly, the handsome man said that he would first watch her. The emperor promised to leave a little later. The guy asked if he could hold her hand. The ill-wisher understood that the new empress was usually a simpleton. She assumed that her rival didn't know who she would meet at the next tea party. The sorceress assumed that she had seen pleasant dreams. The emperor would soon have a new woman in his harem. The empress stood up and rubbed her eyes. Sharon asked if the lady had slept well. The girl asked where her husband had gone. The assistant reported that Gideon had gone out on business. Zelda realized that her husband had come deliberately despite his busy schedule. The girl informed the lady that His Highness had invited her to his office for his morning distribution of affairs. The assistant reported that the Duke had requested an audience. With slight irritation, the Empress reminded him that they had met yesterday. Sharon looked away uncertainly. The girl did not dare tell this news to the lady. The assistant reported that candidates and concubines of His Majesty were present at the tea party. Zelda was surprised that her husband was already looking for a concubine. She assumed that Gideon and Rahane wanted to see her to discuss candidates. The girl was afraid that her husband could simply announce his decision. Zelda remembered how affectionate the guy had been the previous evening. She knew she shouldn't be discouraged. The Empress reminded her that she was just a simple replacement. Zelda confidently walked into the room. The girl saw candidates for servants in the room. The ladies were from noble families and were supported by ministers. The Empress could not understand why the maids looked so similar to each other. The substitute realized that they were not eager to greet the Empress. Zelda was an illegitimate child from Châteauneuf. The girl understood that her rival did not wish her well-being. The Empress understood that the noble ladies could not neglect her. Zelda looked at Rose. Sitting down at the table, the girl greeted the candidate. She offered, "To begin with, sit down at the table." Catherine introduced herself, reminding them that she had not yet had the chance to see Her Highness. The Empress assured them that she was glad to meet them for the first time. Zelda assumed that they would see each other often. She suggested that they move on to conversation and promised to listen to each one. This was the first tea party with noble ladies. Catherine asked her rival if she knew that His Highness's concubines would be chosen from among them. The rival assumed that the Empress was very upset. The Duchess understood that the Emperor had recently married Zelda. Melanie, covering her face with her hand, said that it was not worth discussing such things in front of Her Highness. The Empress said that they could be frank. The brunette reported that there was an engagement between Catherine and Gideon. The substitution was taken aback when she heard this news. The Empress assured that there was no point in stirring up the past. A heated discussion began at the table. Catherine assumed that her rival was very upset. The Duchess reported that the Raffian imperial family had many concubines. Melanie reported that the Emperor was the son of the third concubine. The ladies were amazed that Her Highness did not know about this. The Empress sat listening to the conversation. A certain discomfort enveloped her. Zelda knew it was wrong. The assistant informed Her Highness that she should go to meet her husband. The Empress felt some relief. The ladies did not stop discussing her. Rising from her chair, she said that she was sorry that she would have to stop this tea party. Zelda said that she did not know who would become the first concubine. The Empress hoped that they would show loyalty to His Highness. The girl was forced to act magnanimously by the rules of etiquette. Zelda guessed that she would be in a terrible mood if she were a real Empress. Catherine asked her rival if she should discuss the issue of the harem. The Empress said that this issue did not concern the Duchess. The lady said that one of them would go to the harem. Zelda lifted the hem of her dress and walked quickly along the long corridors. She assumed that her husband had already decided everything. She was sure that her husband was in a particularly good mood. Gideon reported that he saw that his wife was always pleasing to the eye. Gently kissing her hand, her husband said that he should have warned her that she would appear in such a beautiful form. The Empress said that she wanted her husband to warn her in advance. Looking into his amethyst eyes, His Highness assumed that he had done something bad. Looking away, the girl said that there was nothing bad about the concubines. Gideon asked where his wife heard about this. Looking away, the girl said that there was a mention of this at tea. She reported that those who would enter the harem reported this. Gideon clarified whether she remembered or whether the beloved remembered who these ladies were. The Empress reported that Lady Melanie and Fessaline had told her about it. The wife asked Gideon if he had a special relationship with Catherine. The boy's face turned pale. He didn't want his beloved to find out about it like this. Zelda asked with irritation what it all meant. The Emperor assured that he would not select girls for the harem a couple of days after the wedding. The husband admitted that there were discussions about this. Gaiden said that he had agreed with the ministers to resolve this issue after talking with her. The Emperor was also surprised by such haste. Zelda was amazed why their ministers were pushing such an idea. After the concubine's son became emperor, the ministers were dissatisfied. The priests were against Gideon being tied to the kingdom of Châteauneuf. The ministers put forward their condition. The Empress lowered her eyes and realized what that condition was. He was amazed at Zelda's intelligence. The guy said that the aristocracy did not want to accept an heir in whose veins flowed foreign blood. He recalled that he was also an illegitimate child. Gideon reported that the aristocrats were eager to approve the child of a concubine as the successor. The girl realized that for this reason the imperial power had weakened. She understood that the connection with Châtenel was not in the priest's plans. The Empress realized that everyone was preparing for war. Zelda guessed that the negotiations were being conducted cautiously. The girl could not understand why she was sad. She reminded him that she was only a temporary replacement. The Emperor assumed that after the wedding night one of the priests spread rumors. Confused, his wife asked him what he meant. Smiling, Gideon suggested that the priests thought their love was too passionate. Smiling, the Emperor assumed that they were jealous of their love. He asked his wife to be indulgent at least once. Zelda was pleasantly surprised that he explained the reason. The husband immediately noticed the Empress's gaze. The guy felt like his wife was ready to tear him to pieces. The Emperor assured him that he was not guilty. Gideon promised that ministers and ladies who were wasting their time would be taught a lesson. He suggested discussing this with the Duke. Rohain bowed to greet the two sons of the Raffian Empire. The Duke reported that he had heard the ministers' conversations. Gideon asked what the minister's mood was. The guy asked what the guest's opinion was. The foreigner said that he understood the concerns of the aristocracy. The guy explained that there could be problems with the right of inheritance. Rahan reported that ministers rarely wanted a prince to be born to an empress on the other side. The Duke explained that the more children, the more stable the government. The girl realized her weak position. She assumed that the guest represented the position of Prince Tesler. Zelda knew that the Emperor's divorce and remarriage would not take even a few months. The replacement knew that the Duke had no intention of supporting her. Gideon reported that the rapid organization of the harem after the wedding undermined the authority of the Empress. The husband reported that this irritated him. Rahain clarified that he would have taken the concubines if not for the minister's conditions. The wary, handsome man clarified the guest why he asked him such a question. Gideon said he had no intention of doing so. The foreigner asked if he could voice his opinion. Rahain suggested accepting the will of the ministers instead of the enemy's orders. The Duke reported that if the recruitment of concubines was delayed, the ministers might become angry. The boy warned that this hostility could at any time pass to Zelda. The Emperor thought about accepting concubines for the sake of protecting Her Highness. Rahain was surprised that the boy hesitated about it. The girl felt that her position as the Empress's replacement was under threat. She realized that she had to force her husband to accept the harem. The guest reported that the ministers wanted to hold the ceremony in a week. The Duke reminded that a decision had to be made urgently. Rohan grinned and asked what Her Highness's opinion was. The replacement realized that he was forcing her to voice what she wanted. Lowering her eyes, the Empress admitted that there was meaning in the guest's words. Her heart was breaking into pieces. Gideon asked his wife to repeat. The son of the Empire could not believe that his wife had been so careless in her words. The handsome man asked if his wife really didn't mind him accepting the harem. Zelda clutched the hem of her dress tightly. The girl wanted to express her true opinion. The replacement was forced to give the answer that the minister expected from her. The Empress forced a smile and assured him that everything was fine with her. The Duke was glad that the Empress was so generous. Having bowed, the guest announced that he would not have to waste time. Gideon called the secretary. The Emperor asked whether the ministers had arrived in the conference room. The gentleman said that he would soon head there. The guest reported that the Emperor was wise. The handsome man assured that one should not jump to conclusions. Gideon hoped that his wife would be comfortable with the Duke. Rahain assured him that the substitution was the right thing to do. The spy apologized for this conversation. The Duke said that he had some news to tell her. Rahine said that a detachment of royal knights found Princess Licilia. Tesler clarified the princess's condition. The assistant assured that there were no other violations. The prince asked what the probability was that the prince would notice that his wife was not a virgin. The duke assured that there was a potion that would eliminate suspicion. His Highness asked to pass him the potion. The guy asked everyone present to leave for a while. He realized that his sister should have had a limit to her fun. Tesler was shocked that she got pregnant by a mercenary and gave birth on the street. The brother ordered the fugitive to sit down and talk to him. The prince said that it was worth discussing her actions. The girl tried to pretend that she didn't hear anything and covered her ears. He sighed heavily, realizing that she was out of her mind. Tesler, breaking into a scream, asked if she knew how complicated the situation had become. Licilia assured that she would never agree to marry Emperor Raphael. The prince was furious that she disappeared with a guy with no pedigree. His sister asked him to watch his words. She assured him that the mercenary was much smarter than the aristocrat despite his origin. The guy reminded her that she herself returned with a detachment of royal knights, abandoning the mercenary. Looking away, the fugitive said that it was hard for her to suddenly start living like a commoner. She was sure that she could be happy only by looking at Norton's handsome face. Realizing the situation, the princess undoubtedly decided to leave him. With tears in her eyes, Licilia asked if her brother had really let the child go from the mercenary. The girl assured that the knight commander had promised to do just that. A cruel picture appeared before the prince's eyes, and he assured that he had done as he had promised. The replacement clarified whether the princess was heading to the imperial palace. The spy suggested that there might be a problem with this. The duke reported that Licilia was unwell. Rahim promised to inform if news came from the kingdom. With pain in her heart, the empress realized that she only had a few days left to stay in this place. Zelda knew she should be happy. Pain flashed in her amethyst eyes. The duke reported that before the princess arrived, the girls needed to distance themselves from the concubines. The empress asked why she should do this. Rahine explained that the girl should do this for the sake of the princess who would become the future empress. The guy offered Zelda to vent all his anger. Getting up from the comfortable sofa, the empress said that it was time for her to go. Rahim assured that he would accompany her. The replacement was enjoying the beautiful sunflower fields. The girl overheard the emperor talking to Catherine. Zelda paused for a few moments listening. The emperor asked if she had forgotten about the incident before the engagement. The girl said that she regretted it every day. Gideon is absolutely sure that mistakes are always made out of stupidity. The son of the empire reported that she then dared to deceive him. The handsome man reported that he was disgusted by the people who lied to him. The noble lady assured that if her lover had embraced her, this would not have happened. Hedon was amazed that she blamed him for what happened. The girl hoped that she would now become his woman. Catherine doubted that he had spent a gloomy night as rumors said. The aristocrat asked why she thought so. The emperor took Catherine firmly by the chin. Amber eyes narrowed and her heart pounded. The guy asked the lady not to say such things about his husband. Gideon reminded them that there was nothing between them. The emperor realized that he had wasted his time. Zelda realized that the duke was walking in her direction and decided to turn away quickly. The guy suggested ending the walk at this point. Having parted the golden flowers, he asked his husband what his beloved was doing in this place. The girl realized that Rahan was to blame for this incident. Gideon ordered his wife to show him her face. The substitute assured him that she was just passing by. Smiling, Catherine bowed and greeted her highness. She assured that she would soon become his highness's first concubine. The lady promised that they would see each other more often soon. The duke noticed that the empress and the duke were walking together. Rakeen bowed his head politely. The empress reported that the guy was her interlocutor. The girl noticed that her husband was already walking with his new concubine. She tried to hide her jealousy. Gideon noticed that the guest was the only person from the kingdom of Châteauneuf. He assumed that his wife and boyfriend had much more to talk about. The empress asked how the meeting had gone. The spy assumed that he had interrupted the light conversation between his highness and the new concubine. Zelda said that she was just about to return to the palace. She assured that her husband could continue his fascinating conversation with the lady. The guy tried to stop his beloved by lightly touching her wrist. The girl abruptly pulled her hand back. Lifting the hem of her dress, the empress announced that it was time for her to go. Zelda muttered through her teeth that she was just about to go to her palace. The girl asked for forgiveness. Smiling, the duke asked that his highness not worry. A smirk appeared on Catherine's face. The lady watched her rival go. The spy asked the empress to wait. He asked why she walked so quickly. The girl asked what was going on. Zelda reminded him that they had already discussed everything. Rahane said that he was worried about the girl's condition. The Duke explained that this was the reason he had decided to accompany her. The Empress reminded him that he had failed the exam for the knights. The girl doubted that the Duke was a knight spirit. Covering his face with his hand, the foreigner asked from whom the girl heard this news. Zelda reported that she learned of this from the prince. The Empress reported that Tesla was worried that his assistant was delaying the marriage. The girl reported that she heard that he had a passionate love for a widow from the Duchy of Aledo. She assumed that the woman was his first love. Zelda explained that the prince knew much more than the tabloids. The Empress suggested that the Duke begin searching for a wife in the Empire. She sarcastically assured him that he would be able to find single ladies. Zelda wished him a safe journey. Kissing her hand, he noticed that she had described his preferences exactly. He promised to start searching. Rohian said that he was ready to consider her candidacy. The Empress sat in the cool water, thinking about the conversation she had overheard. The girl assumed that for Gideon, Catherine was also special. Zelda couldn't believe that just a couple of days after the wedding her husband would have a harem. She was shocked that there would be 4 girls in the harem. Zelda reminded herself that she was only a substitute for the Empress. Zelda couldn't understand why her heart felt so heavy. The Empress realized that the water was boiling rather quickly. She heard a noise outside the door. The knight said that first he would enter and announce his arrival. The worker said that Her Majesty had asked not to let anyone out. Zelda jumped up abruptly and realized that she had to greet her husband properly. The Emperor informed her that etiquette was not needed in such a situation. The guy assumed that his wife was taking a bubble bath. Gideon said that it was inconvenient to talk through the door. The wife said that she was just about to finish taking a bath. The Emperor asked her to sit still. He asked his beloved not to worry that he would see something unnecessary. Soon Gideon returned. The boy was clutching delicate rose petals tightly in his hand. The Emperor threw the petals into the water, thinking that it would be more comfortable to talk that way. He assumed he had poured too much. Zelda asked irritably why he had come in the middle of the night. The guy asked since when he needed a reason to come to her room. The Empress said that if he had warned her in advance, she would have met him. Gideon grinned and said that everyone was giving him the perfect look. He admitted that he wished at least one person would give him the casual look. The Emperor said that it was an honor to see Zelda like this. Gently running his hand over her cheek, Gideon said that she was beautiful. The girl admitted that she felt awkward because she was without makeup. The Emperor assured her that she was beautiful as she was. Gideon carefully dipped his hand into the water. Noticing his wife's surprised look, the handsome man said that there were too many petals. He poured the water with the petals right onto the floor. Zelda covered her chest with her hands. The girl grabbed him by the sleeve of his shirt and ordered him to stop. The Empress said that if he continued, she would feel awkward. The handsome man could not keep his balance and fell into the water to his beloved. The tension in the fabric caused his shirt to stretch, revealing his luxurious torso. The guy adjusted his soft hair and assumed that something worse had happened. Gideon admitted that his wife was the only person who got him wet from head to toe. The Emperor suggested that he should take a bath too. The guy sat down behind her. The handsome man promised to sit quietly to warm up a little. Gideon assumed that a magic stone had been placed in the bath to maintain the heat. It seemed to him that the water was getting hotter. The Emperor put his hand in the water trying to find the magic artifact. His wife reported that he touched her ankle. The guy continued searching for the stone. Zelda reported that he touched her knee. The girl assured that there was nothing inside the bathroom. The aristocrat could not understand why the water temperature was still the same. His wife reported that the water was initially very hot. Gideon reported that when he climbed into the bath, the hot water cooled and became covered with a crust of ice. The Emperor was amazed that the bath was still warm. The husband assumed that the hot heart of his beloved was to blame. The girl realized that if he hadn't fallen into the bathtub, she could have gotten burned again. The substitution realized that they needed each other. The aristocrat reported that he felt as if all the muscles of the ligament were relaxing. The guy compared this feeling to the end of a training session on the parade ground. The wife was amazed that he visited the training ground. Gideon recalled that he was the one who became famous in the war because of a special sword technique. He couldn't afford to be lazy during training. His wife asked if the guy killed many people. The Emperor admitted that he fought in the war thinking that the more people he killed, the fewer his subjects would suffer. Gideon assured that he was not a murderer. He reminded that their marriage was necessary in order to strengthen the fighting power of the northern continent. Zelda asked if he regretted it. Handsome asked if she was talking about marriage or about falling in the bathtub. The girl was taken aback when she realized that her husband had fallen into the bathtub on purpose. Gideon asked if he had become more convincing. The emperor admitted that he was glad that he married her. The handsome man promised to behave in such a way that she would not regret it either. The guy laughed and said that he liked this private conversation. Zelda said that she was not very comfortable because of the awkward position. The emperor felt awkward about his inattention. He asked his wife to move forward a little. The guy suddenly opened his shirt. Zelda's face turned crimson. The empress announced that she would be the first to emerge from the bath. The wife reported that she had been in the water for too long. She knew that in that state the water would start to bubble. The handsome man asked his wife to stop. The guy said that after she left, the water would cool down. Gideon covered his beautiful face with his hand. He gave his wife the opportunity to go out and put on a robe. The emperor told his wife that he felt cold. The girl asked if he felt well. The handsome man reported that he felt warmer from the presence of his beloved. He suggested that he could warm up faster if he hugged her. Gideon was amazed to feel her warmth. The guy admitted that he couldn't sleep before because of the cold. The emperor explained that this was why he had to swing his sword. Gideon suggested that there might be fewer wars in the future while she was around. The wife asked what would happen if she disappeared. The handsome man assured that in that case he would live by wars. The guy explained that it was only because of this that his body temperature rose. Zelda's heart sank as she realized that he would soon see the beautiful girls of the harem. A fog of jealousy filled her mind. The girl understood that soon in the life of her beloved there would appear someone who would warm him. She understood that the handsome man would soon lose interest in her. Gideon hugged his wife tightly and said that if she wanted peace, it would be better not to move away from him. The emperor asked his beloved not to quarrel with the harem. The handsome man reminded her that she was his beloved wife. As Zelda fell asleep in his arms, she felt relieved. For the first time in her life, she felt needed. The events are moved an hour earlier. The knight kneeled before the duke and reported what had happened. Rahim could not believe that the emperor had gone to his wife's palace. The subordinate assured that Gideon had never left the empress's palace. The duke asked Rolf why a husband would rush to his wife at such a time. The lord assumed that the emperor had an urgent situation. The escort suggested that Gideon had sexual desire despite his cold-bloodedness. Rahim was amazed that the pitiful substitute was to the ruler's taste. The lord reported that, contrary to expectations, His Highness understood beauty. The guy turned around abruptly and asked his escort to repeat. He realized that he had seen the girl's beauty too late. Rolf assured that he was embarrassed to say this. The lord reported that he had seen the empress training on the training ground a couple of times. The boy was delighted by her charm. Rahim was amazed to hear such news. The duke asked if she was as good as the subordinate. With shining eyes, Rolf asked not to compare him with the empress. The boy remembered Zelda's taunt. He asked to tell him other news. The lord, looking down, said that he had not yet recovered. The boy explained that this week would be decisive. The duke doubted that the boy had survived the fall from such a height. Rahim asked the doctor to keep the boy alive for at least a day. The guy clarified what happened to the baby. During the fall, the mercenary was holding the child tightly to himself. The princess's illegitimate son was almost unharmed. Lord assumed that Norton was not a man of low birth. A little taken aback, the spy asked why he spoke like that. The subordinate reported that there was a precious stone on the sword's hilt and a seal inside. The seal did not belong to the kingdom of Châteauneuf. The lord was sure that the seal belonged to a noble or imperial family. Rahim asked to bring him that sword. The empress felt the touch and opened her eyes. The guy asked if his wife had woken up yet. He said that he had slept well. The handsome man felt incredible warmth. Zelda reported that she also slept well, feeling fresh. The husband assumed that she would beg him to sleep with her in the summer because of insomnia. The girl's gaze caught on his flawless torso. The empress abruptly moved away from her husband. The guy said that he couldn't fall asleep for a long time. Gideon explained that the clothes were uncomfortable and dough. The husband grinned and said he was naked. Soon the couple had breakfast together. The emperor was shocked that he got a pillow in the face for taking off his clothes. Zelda choked on her aromatic coffee in surprise. The girl said that she was too surprised. Her husband put a piece of pie in her hand and recommended that she try it. It had lemon, apple, and blueberry. Gideon said it was one of his favorites. The guy asked if the empress could describe the taste of the pie. Zelda said that she did not want to share this taste with anyone. Laughing, the emperor assured that he thought the same thing when he first tried the pie. The guy said that usually you don't want to share any pies with strangers. The emperor reminded that the ceremony of welcoming the concubines will take place soon. Gideon reminded that his wife would have to share him with other girls. Zelda, looking down, reminded that her beloved was not a pie. The emperor stood up from the comfortable sofa. He agreed with the girl's opinion. The handsome man explained that he would soon have a meeting. Gideon said that his beloved could have taken a piece of it. The guy admitted that he deliberately did not eat it in order to share it with his beloved. The empress reminded him that he said that he didn't like sharing his favorite pie with strangers. Zelda was amazed that the guy was giving her his favorite dish. Gideon hugged his beloved tightly and said that they were not strangers. Catherine ordered the maid to tighten the corset even more. The noble lady longed for her waist to be even narrower. The concubine knew that she had to wear a cream dress for the welcoming ceremony. The duchess knew that she had to be the most beautiful of all. The girl understood that because of the secret meeting with Count Eden, her engagement was broken off. Catherine managed to sort out that relationship. The concubine understood that thanks to the groom's silence, no one knew about this incident. She understood that no man would be indifferent to her ideal image. Catherine understood that she needed time to seduce the emperor. The girl was furious that some plain girl became an empress. She realized that for good communication, authority was important, not status. Catherine knew that when she gave birth to a prince, the imperial family would belong to her again. The concubine wondered if Zelda would bow her head to her. The events are transferred to the beginning of the ceremony of welcoming the concubines. Previously, this celebration took place modestly in the temple prayer. The current ceremony was held on a grand scale in the church. The ministers were very pleased. The emperor could do nothing because of the conditions for the marriage with Chateauneuf. The duke was to blame for the early conduct of this ceremony. The foreign minister spent a lot of time with the officials. Rahine was like a true subject of the Raffian Empire. The boy received a message that the royal family did not object to concubines. Rahine officially announced this in the assembly hall. Substitution understood that all this was done for the sake of the new empress's future. Zelda understood that the ceremony of welcoming the concubines would soon begin. Melanie couldn't understand why the girl considered herself the first concubine. She understood that Catherine was the daughter of a duke just like her. A friend reported that Catherine had been His Highness's fiancée in the past, and suggested that she would become the first concubine. The Duchess grinned and assured that a broken gold coin was valued less than a whole silver one. The concubine was sure that even after the repair, the broken one remained broken. From her place, the emperor's former bride asked who had spoken the loudest. The emperor's ex-fiancé reported that a broken gold coin could be melted down and reused. Catherine reminded that gold will always remain gold. The Duchess asked her rival to let her go. The girl said that she would speak in a language understandable to her rival. Catherine said that she would never become the first concubine. She proudly announced that Melanie would not be her rival. The Duchess assured that they were valued differently. Melanie said that her rival had better be polite to her too. The girl warned that she was capable of a lot. Fessaline began to worry about Her Highness's feelings. The girl was sure that Zelda was not in the best mood. The concubine was disappointed that their first meeting was unsuccessful. The Marquise hoped that she could become friends with the Empress. She hoped that she would open her soul. Fessaline took off her jewelry, realizing that she did not want to be beautiful. The priest announced that the ceremony of welcoming the concubines was beginning. The worker asked His Highness and the concubines to place their hands on the holy book. The man began the blessing ceremony. The priest asked to kiss each of the concubines with love. Gideon wondered how his beloved felt. The Empress was glad that she did not have to participate in this ceremony. Even alone, she felt anxious. The replacement knew that if she had been present at the ceremony, the day would have been even worse. Coming out onto the terrace, the Empress assumed that her husband was in the palace for concubines. With a heavy sigh, the girl realized that it was time for her to go to bed. Sharon said that Her Highness would be down soon. Zelda hoped that her lover had come to her. The Empress asked her assistant who had come. The worker said that the Duke had asked for a meeting. The girl was amazed that he wanted to meet her at such a time. Sharon said that she asked about the purpose of the visit, but he promised to inform the Empress about it personally. The worker asked what to answer the uninvited guest. The Empress thought for a moment. She did not want to see anyone. Zelda forced a smile on her face and said that it wasn't that late. The girl asked the worker to bring her a shawl to put on her shoulders. Rahine greeted Her Highness. The guest hoped that he had not interrupted her rest. The Empress reported that he had prevented her from spending the evening. She asked to be informed of the purpose of the visit. The minister assumed that Zelda would be lonely that night. The spy said that he had come to be her interlocutor. The girl became wary because she realized that this was hardly a reason. The Duke asked her not to be nervous. Rahane explained that there was nothing that could be done about the ceremony for the concubines. The boy said that Gideon would spend the night with one of the concubines. He asked if Zelda knew about it. The girl said that it was normal. The Empress still felt discomfort in her soul. The guest noticed that she looked unwell. Rahane assumed that the Emperor was talking to one of the concubines in the bedroom. The Empress asked with irritation what he wanted to say. The Duke repeated once again that he wanted to be her interlocutor. The Empress reported that he looked like a wolf in sheep's clothing. She advised the uninvited guest to return and go to bed. Sharon ran into the room and announced that His Highness was waiting for the girl in the bedroom. Zelda felt a sense of peace. The Empress knew that her lover must be in the palace for concubines. Zelda frantically assumed that she had been exposed. She assumed that her lover had learned that she was merely a substitute. The girl asked if the Emperor had learned of their affair. Gideon clarified what she meant. Bowing his head, the minister greeted His Highness. The boy assumed that there was something between his wife and Rahane that he should not know. The Emperor was amazed that the girl was so close to the Duke. Zelda realized that the Emperor might have discovered her true identity. The girl assured that she was not close to the minister. Gideon asked if he could kill the night visitor. The Empress assured him that it was a bad idea. Deep down, Zelda wanted her husband to finish off the impudent man. She said that if the Duke died, there would be chaos among the aristocrats of the kingdom. Gideon admitted that she had a point. He knew he could get into trouble too. The guy looked at his rival with disdain and congratulated him on leaving the Empress's castle alive. The Emperor hugged his beloved tightly. The handsome man said that the uninvited guest had better leave immediately. Gideon said that he didn't know what to do with it when he stopped smiling. The husband invited the girl to go to the bedroom. Confused, Zelda asked why he was in her castle. She reminded him that her lover needed to go to the concubine's palace. Gideon said that he wanted to come to the Empress's palace. The handsome man assumed that his beloved was worried about him leaving for his concubines. Bowing her head, his wife confirmed his guess. He asked to admit that Zelda had been worried about this all day. Having thrown her onto the bed, the Emperor assured her that if she said this, everything would change. The girl couldn't believe his words. Zelda couldn't believe that her lover wouldn't have a wedding night with his concubine. She hoped that they would fall asleep hugging each other as if nothing had happened. The Empress could not understand what the point was in concubines. The girl understood that the 4 concubines were not accepted into the harem for walks and conversations. Gideon reminded that he was an emperor. The husband said that he was annoyed that his beloved refused the kiss. The girl understood that she should not, to seize the opportunity to be with him. Zelda wanted to always be near her beloved. The Empress was ready to go through a thorny path with Gideon. The handsome man asked if it was really so difficult to say that the girl did not want him to spend the night with a concubine. The Emperor kissed his beloved passionately. He gently lifted Zelda into his arms. The guy longed to spend the night with her. Her Highness remembered the Duke's words. Rahane told her that her husband must go to the concubines. The minister assured that this way she would be able to keep her position without fear of attack from the minister. The girl told her lover that she was against it. A smile appeared on the Emperor's face and he kissed her again. Zelda said she didn't want the Emperor in her bedroom. She wanted to scream the opposite. The sky-blue eyes dimmed. The guy said that if the Empress so wished, he would go to the concubine's palace. The replacement remained in the empty room. The girl felt the silence pressing on her. With all her heart, she wanted to rush and stop her lover. Sharon said she did not know whether His Highness had visited Lady Catherine. The assistant reported that the Emperor had taken the route usually used for night walks. Once again, Zelda reminded herself that this was natural. The girl wondered what would have happened if she had not let her lover go. Zelda knew that in that case she would not have escaped the wrath of the abandoned Catherine and Duke Kalios. The Duke had a strong army in the Raffian Empire. The Empress knew that then all the ministers would be against her. She understood that this could cause great trouble for the Emperor. The girl tried her best to convince herself that she had done the right thing. The Empress convinced herself that she had made this choice for the sake of her husband. Zelda was sure that she had avoided a quarrel with the ministers thanks to that choice. She understood that she had hurt her husband's feelings. The Empress announced that she would soon leave her husband. The girl said that she wanted to improve relations with Gideon. The lady asked if His Highness had any plans after dinner. Zelda suggested going to him. She was eager to see her lover, even if only for a little while. The servant greeted Her Highness. The boy said that there was a guest inside the office. The employee reported that Lady Catherine had entered the office a few moments earlier. The Empress assumed that her husband had been with the lady the previous night. The lady asked why the girl had met the emperor in the office. Coming out of the office, the concubine reported that she had heard a noise. Catherine was amazed that Her Highness was in this place. The Duchess greeted her rival with a bow. The concubine asked why her rival had visited the office at such a time. Zelda said that she had not known that His Highness would have a guest. Catherine noticed that His Majesty was glowing with happiness. The Empress understood that she was trying to hurt her because her husband had left her for a concubine. And then she decided to play the fool. Smiling, the girl said that for the first time in a long time she had slept well. The Empress understood that she had spent the previous night completely alone. She couldn't understand why the first concubine was looking at her like that. Zelda noticed her rival's red eyes. The Empress was sure that the first wedding night had come successfully. The Duchess announced that it was time for her to go. The girl loudly slammed the door behind her. The handsome man said that he had a wonderful night last night. He was sure that his wife was interested in this. The girl lowered her eyes and said that she had not intended to ask about it. The replacement admitted that she was worried about the emperor's departure. The guy asked her not to worry. Gideon promised to behave in such a way as not to disturb the Empress. He offered his wife to sit down. With a downcast look, Zelda said that she did not want to distract him from his work. Handsome asked his wife whether she was going to go or not. The girl asked if she could leave. Smiling, Gideon said that she was only pretending to do what he said. The emperor said that this was her wish. The wife only wanted to say that she was not sincere that day. Zelda wanted to spend the whole night with her lover. The assistant suggested that the lady go to the greenhouse, which was located in the imperial palace. The girl assumed that this would help the Empress to get a little distracted. Sharon reported that there were some fussy plants in the area. The assistant said that the beautiful flowers could wilt if not maintained. The right temperature. The girl was amazed that it was fresher in this place than outside. Smiling, Zelda assumed that she had decided to go to the greenhouse for personal reasons. The assistant, embarrassed, assured her that this was not so. The Empress noticed the movement and looked back sharply. Zelda had long felt someone else's gaze. The Empress knew she had to protect Sharon if they were in danger. The girl grabbed her pursuer sharply. She realized that the one standing in front of her was concubine Rosie. Bowing sharply, the concubine greeted Her Highness. With some distrust, the Empress asked what she was doing in the greenhouse. The girl assured that she had never been in that place. The concubine said that she wanted to apologize first. With tears in her eyes, the lady said that she had come to the bedroom without Her Highness's permission. The girl admitted that she was ashamed of the incident at the official dinner. Rosie reported that other people said that it was an order from Her Highness. The son of the Empire reported that all this was already in the past. The girl assured that she did not intend to scold the concubine for something she did not know. Rose assured that she did not become a concubine of her own free will. The lady said that she wanted to live by reading books. The Empress asked what books she liked to read. The concubine admitted that she loved books about magic the most. She read them as a child and learned healing magic herself. The Empress reported that she had a very interesting hobby. Zelda promised to contact the healer if she fell ill. The changeling felt a gaze on her. She assumed there was a scar on her face. The Empress turned away abruptly. Zelda realized that the effect of the magic potion had worn off and she was caught. Catherine said with a grin that they had met Her Highness again. The first concubine assumed that Rosie was already sucking up to Her Highness. The Duchess assumed that the girl wanted to win the love of her elders. The concubine mistakenly addressed Catherine by name. The first concubine was furious. The healer asked for forgiveness and assured that it was an accident. Rose suggested discussing it a little later. Catherine said that first she had to pay for her rudeness. The girl hit her with all her might for her inappropriate behavior. The lady reminded that she was now the first concubine. The Duchess was furious that the second concubine could speak to her so casually. With tears in her eyes, Rose reminded him that they had been friends since childhood. The concubine promised to be more careful next time. Once again, slapping Catherine asked her to speak to her politely. The Empress was furious that she dared to beat someone so brazenly in front of her. With a trembling voice, the healer asked Lady Catherine for forgiveness. The first concubine praised the girl for starting to speak politely. Zelda was furious that the official concubine dared to use violent hands. The girl smiled mockingly and asked for forgiveness if she had frightened the Empress. She said that she had to teach a lesson to a man who did not know his place. The Empress said that only elders could use violence when teaching etiquette. Zelda asked if the concubine agreed with her. The girl cold-bloodedly struck the concubine. The replacement was amazed that Catherine was so soft-hearted. The Empress gently hit the concubine with her left hand. The girl understood that her rival's face should swell because she had slapped her. The Empress reminded Catherine that she should thank her for the lesson. The concubine was sure that Zelda was trying to humiliate her in front of everyone. The Emperor's wife asked how the concubine dared to raise her voice. The Empress reminded her that she had slapped His Highness's girl. The girl reminded that Catherine dared to disturb the peace in the greenhouse, which was the property of the empire. Zelda decided to be lenient with her. The girl grabbed the concubine by the face and pierced her with a contemptuous look. The Empress warned that if this happened again, the lesson would not end there. The girl, trembling all over, admitted that she had raised her voice in front of Her Highness. The concubine promised to be more careful in the future. Catherine fell to her knees, tears streaming from her eyes and her body shaking. The Empress hoped that we could talk to Rose next time. The healer said that it would be a great honor for her. The concubine asked for forgiveness that the Empress had to worry about her. Zelda was sure that the girl would be frightened by such behavior. She suggested that Sharon return to her palace. Catherine reported that the Empress had crossed the line last night. The Empress assured that she had done nothing to allow the concubine to say such things. The girl assured that yesterday she was supposed to spend the night with the Emperor. Catherine said that her rival should not have interfered with her first wedding night. The Empress, slightly taken aback, asked whether Gideon had visited his concubine the night before. The girl became incredibly curious about where her husband had gone. Indifferently, Zelda reminded him that if His Highness went to his palace, it was his will. The Empress assured him that it did not depend on her. With tears in her eyes, the first concubine asked where His Highness had been the previous night. Zelda assumed that the first concubine had gotten angry and taken her anger out on Rose. The assistant asked where His Highness had gone the night before. The Empress was sure that her husband had spent the previous night with Catherine. Zelda wished only well-being for her husband. Because of this, the girl let him go, causing pain. The girl did not want to continue hurting her lover's feelings. The lady asked Sharon to go to the main palace. Smiling, the Empress said that she needed Gideon. Zelda announced that she would spend the next night in His Highness's bedroom. The Emperor could not understand why Zelda said such a thing to him. The subject asked for forgiveness for expressing rudeness. The guy noticed that Gideon looked more anxious than during the battle. The handsome guy said that he would be glad not to worry. The secretary asked His Highness why he was so worried. He reminded that the gentleman had not been interested in the Empress during the wedding. The assistant could not understand why the Emperor began to be nervous after the marriage. The son of the Empire began to smile often and fly in the clouds. The subject noted that Gideon was too rude. The guy said that he had enough experience in love relationships. The Emperor's heart began to pound wildly, and he asked to explain why he was in such a state. He could not understand why he was in such a state, even though he had never been interested in any woman before. The secretary assured him that this could have been a foretaste of the next meeting. Gideon admitted that his heart began to beat faster at those words. The subordinate was amazed that the Emperor was so excited that his wife was going to visit his bedroom. Embarrassed, Gideon asked why the assistant had spoken so bluntly. The Emperor admitted that he had begun to imagine it. The secretary assumed that no woman had visited His Highness's bedroom before. The handsome man admitted that as a child his bedroom was visited only by his mother and aunt. The worker was amazed that not a single girl came to visit the gentleman at night. Zelda walked hesitantly towards the Emperor's castle. She swallowed nervously. Feeling the tension in the air, Sharon asked if everything was okay. The Empress forced a smile on her face and said that everything was fine and she would have to go. The girl advised Her Highness not to be too nervous. Zelda assured that everything was fine. She tucked her hair behind her ear and asked what her husband was doing in that place. The handsome man said that he had been out for a walk and was about to return. Gideon extended his hand and suggested that they go to his room. The girl gently touched his strong hand. The Emperor asked why his wife had decided to visit his bedroom. Zelda said that she wanted to sleep and talk. She smiled and said that she would look around her husband's bedroom and go to bed. The guy said that his wife was the first girl who entered his bedroom. The handsome man said that when she announced her arrival, he planned to throw her on the bed as soon as they entered. The Emperor wanted to communicate with bodies, but he could not do it. Gideon was afraid to break her and be rejected. The Empress asked whether her lover really wanted to do this. The guy kissed her hand tenderly. Zelda suggested that they move over and talk first. She was very nervous. The girl did not know what to talk about with her husband in such a situation. Zelda thought only about the meeting. The Empress forgot to think of a topic for conversation. The handsome man sat on the bed and carefully removed her shoes. The girl, with ragged breathing, reminded him that they were going to talk. He said that he had not refused. The Emperor explained that conversations on the bed are the most comfortable and frank. Melanie asked what time His Highness would visit her castle. The maid lowered her eyes and mumbled something. The worker reported that the Empress was in His Highness's chambers. The concubine clenched her teeth in anger. Due to the intense stress, Zelda accidentally kicked His Highness. The girl frantically realized that she was in trouble. The Empress understood that this was not why she came to her lover's bedroom. The wife began to justify herself by saying that it happened because of tickling. Zelda told her lover that she had not come to his bedroom for this reason. The handsome man explained that this was the reason he did not kiss his wife on the lips. Gideon was sorry that he had scared his wife. The girl asked if he would visit her palace. The Emperor asked if she really wanted it. Zelda admitted that she had made a huge mistake. The handsome man said that he would visit her. The guy promised that his lips would touch every part of her body. Taking her hand, the Emperor asked what the real reason was for her visiting his bedroom. The wife admitted that after her lover left, she felt uneasy. The guy asked whether his wife felt even more anxious while in his bedroom. Gently touching her chin, Gideon asked what he should do if she came to his bedroom. The handsome man assumed that his answer would surprise his wife. The girl reached for his face and tried to kiss him. The Empress thought that she had lost her mind. It felt as if a huge wave had covered her and was carrying her away into the raging sea. This kiss became the embodiment of her hot feelings. Zelda understood that she could not avoid the problem, but she could not stop. The girl did not want to stop. The Emperor tried to gently untie her dress. Because of passion, Gideon tore the delicate fabric on the sleeve of her clothing. Laughing, she suggested that her lover tear off the entire sleeve. She suggested that she undress herself because she did not want to tear the dress even more. The handsome man took off his shirt and exposed his luxurious torso. The Emperor decided to turn off the light. The guy pressed her to the bed and wanted to kiss her. Suddenly, the idyll was interrupted by a sudden knock at the door. The assistant asked to be allowed to continue his speech. The worker reported that Melanie had fallen down the stairs. The secretary assured her that my lady had been waiting for the person she was waiting for to come. Melanie sighed heavily, showing her suffering. Brushing away the tears from the concubine's eyes, she turned to His Highness. The girl was taken aback when she saw the Empress in front of her. Melanie asked indignantly what it was. The concubine pointed her finger at the Empress with disdain. Realizing her mistake, the concubine reported that she had a severe headache. The girl asked why Her Highness had visited her. Gideon explained that he was with the Empress at the time of the incident. The ruler explained that his wife was a very caring girl. Zelda was amazed at how cleverly her husband lied. The Emperor said that he heard that she almost died because of an accident on the stairs. With tears in her eyes, Melanie assured that she had just returned from the other world. The concubine reminded that this day was for a visit to her room. She said that she was impatiently waiting for her lover in her bed. The girl explained that she herself decided to visit His Highness's estate. Incredulously, Gideon asked again if she had really fallen down the stairs. The concubine said that she had acted like a fool. The Emperor coldly informed her that she was right. The boy informed her that after looking at her horse tears, he began to think that she was capable of running. The handsome man couldn't understand how the concubine could fall down the stairs so stupidly. The girl said that it wasn't her fault, and that the stupid stairs were to blame for everything. Gideon agreed that the piece of furniture was also stupid because it did not move when it saw the concubine. Surprised, she asked if they could. The stairs move. The Empress stood aside, barely holding back her laughter. After her lover's words, Zelda imagined the concubine as a horse. She was ready to laugh at any moment. The ruler reported that he heard that the palace doctor had already arrived. The guy heard that only the leg was injured. The maid confirmed that she had fallen down the stairs and twisted her ankle. The Emperor was amazed that the girl behaved in such a way. Not because of the head injury. The girl felt that she could no longer hold back her laughter. Zelda expressed a desire to return to her palace. The Empress reminded her that Melanie was a concubine and asked her to take care of her body. She felt that she could no longer hold back her laughter and tried to run out the door. The husband suddenly grabbed the girl by the cape, trying to stop her. The Emperor inadvertently exposed the torn dress. Zelda suddenly shuddered and blushed. The girl's dress was in terrible condition. The handsome man said that this was the decision of a designer from the kingdom of Châteauneuf. The Emperor considered it quite original. Zelda was sure that no one would believe this nonsense. Seeing the burning eyes of the concubine, the girl realized that she had fallen for this trick. The emperor assumed that they had disturbed the victim too much. The ruler suggested that she rest. The concubine asked when he would visit her again. Zelda asked if she should return to her husband's bedroom. The handsome man gently took his beloved by the waist. He said that he could not let go of the first and last guest who visited his bedroom. The emperor promised that he would do everything so that she would see him more often. Throwing off his cloak, Gideon pressed her tightly to his soft bed. Looking into her husband's deep blue eyes, our heroine realized everything. His care, love. The couple shared their feelings with each other for the first time. Intertwining fingers, bodies, destinies. Morning came. Bright rays of light penetrated the windows and illuminated the luxurious palace. Birds were chirping outside the window. Gideon opened his beautiful eyes. He realized that he was experiencing new feelings every time he blinked. The emperor liked his wife more and more. He was delighted by Zelda's charm. The guy liked it when his beloved openly objected to him, and when her amethyst eyes sparkled with surprise. All the girl's features were something new for the emperor. His dreary, cold nights became warmer. For the first time in a long time, the emperor was able to feel real happiness. Gideon felt like he wouldn't survive if he didn't see Zelda every day. Every time he looked into her deep amethyst eyes, it seemed to him that the girl was hiding something from him. The guy assumed that his beloved was too shy. He hugged his wife, realizing that this was true love. The emperor hoped that the girl would speed up and they would reach their destination sooner. The girl felt unbearable pain. Tears gushed from her ruby eyes. Zelda saw a fireball. The magical creature said that it was very happy that it was finally able to find her. The empress stepped back. The girl felt fire pierce her chest. She began to fall rapidly into the abyss. She opened her ruby eyes. The room was filled with bright sunlight. Her heart was pounding wildly as if it was trying to escape from her chest. Zelda found this dream rather strange. The girl was amazed that she was not hot that day. She felt a slight freshness. The girl assumed that she had spent the night with Gideon. A barely noticeable smile appeared on her face. Zelda realized that this day would be wonderful. The commander asked His Highness what had happened. The man noticed that the emperor was putting too much force on the sword. Gideon sighed heavily and said that he had not used all his strength where necessary. Mark realized that the gentleman had been using energy that was intended for something else. The emperor, embarrassed, admitted that this was indeed the case. The guy said that the more force applied, the more energy. Mark assumed that it had something to do with Her Highness. Gideon assumed that the commander, having lost his sight, had learned to read minds. The man realized that the empress had become a special person for the gentleman. The guy assumed that Mark's sight had returned. The commander explained that he felt it. The victim explained that if his sight returned, he would stop training with His Highness. Mark said that he knew that the gentleman had blindfolded him. The guy asked if the blind man really hadn't seen anything. The emperor could not understand how the man knew all this. Mark reminded him that he was the best sword teacher. The man asked whether there really was a new outstanding swordsman in the palace. He reported that he had recently felt a strong aura in the palace. The aristocrat asked if Mark was familiar with a swordsman of that level. The gentleman asked since when the mentor had felt the aura. In the oppressive silence that followed, a nasty creak of armor was heard. The blind man reported that he had felt a strong aura since the day of the master's wedding. The man assumed that several people had arrived with Her Highness. He was sure that among them was a fine sword. Gideon was sure that it was Duke Martin's. The guy couldn't believe that it was his wife. The emperor assumed that after losing his sight, the man's sixth sense had weakened. The duke could not believe that the substitute had personally visited the emperor's palace. He could not understand what the girl was thinking. The assistant asked whether he should report this to the prince. Martin could not tell the gentleman that the empress was doing more than was necessary. The boy assumed that the prince had misunderstood the emperor's characteristics. The minister was very worried that things were going wrong. The assistant reported that he had met Ken the previous day. The knight gave the box and asked to pass it on to the empress. The archduke was surprised to see the jewelry box. The boy assumed that the prince had passed on a message. Tesler said that when the girl opens the box, she will learn the meaning of this gift. The ruler wanted no one to cross his line. Martin looked at the contents of the box with horror. He exclaimed and quickly slammed the box shut. The knight asked the gentleman if he really wanted to give the box to Her Highness. The minister said that he did not want to do this. The boy reminded that it was a warning from the prince. The aristocrat realized that they had no choice. He understood that by ignoring this warning they could expose themselves to great danger. The assistant clarified why Tesla used such radical methods. He recalled that he kept silent about yesterday's incident. The knight explained that even in the written reports there was no indication of this. Martin assumed that they were not the only ones in this palace who were spies. The subordinate assumed that Tesla had planted another spy. The minister clutched the box tightly in his hands. The thing creaked from the strain of his hands. The Duke wondered who could be loyal to Prince Tesla. He realized that the master was much smarter. The knight asked what he planned to do. Martin decided to start all over again. The boy was depressed because the gentleman did not trust him. The minister decided not to disappoint his lordship. The Archduke knew of his master's ambitions. The prince longed to rule the entire northern continent. Martin understood that ruling a country was a more realistic goal. The garden was flooded with sunlight. The area around the paths was dotted with a variety of flowers. A delicate aroma hung in the air. Zelda invited the concubines to sit down. The ladies bowed and took their places. The Empress felt Catherine's disdainful gaze on her. Zelda realized that she still believed that Gideon had not visited her because of her. Smiling, the girl asked Melanie how she felt, asking about her leg. The concubine began to slowly take off her cloak. The girl was taken aback when she saw that the aristocrat's dress was torn. Melanie explained that the designer was popular in the Empress's homeland. The replacement realized that she had deliberately torn the sleeve because of Gideon's words. The first concubine asked what had happened to her colleague's dress. Through her teeth, the Duchess said what she had said a moment ago. Catherine was amazed that she dared to address her in such a way. She asked where the ladylike manners had gone. Melanie shuddered and laughed convulsively. She explained to Milady that this was a special style. Catherine asked her rival what this strange style was. The Duchess said she wanted the first concubine to watch her words. The girl chuckled that Melanie's appearance was part of His Highness's reputation. The Duchess explained to her rival that she was dressed to His Highness's taste. She looked imploringly at her mistress. The replacement decided to help Melanie out. Zelda reported that the Emperor quite liked this style. The concubine asked why they were sitting in the gazebo and offered to show the dress to Gideon. Catherine asked if the Emperor had visited the second concubine. Embarrassed, the Duchess assured that His Grace had visited her the night before. The girl caught Melanie in a lie. The Duchess asked again in a trembling voice. She assured that Her Highness was a witness. Catherine asked the Empress if this was true. Smiling, Zelda said that the concubine had injured her leg yesterday. She explained that she and her husband had visited the girl. The first concubine assumed that the Emperor and his wife had left the girl's estate together. The Duchess assured him that she had asked him to do so. The concubine explained that it was late at that time, and she herself asked the Emperor to take her mistress. Zelda tried to hide her emotions and looked away. The girl took a small sip of tea. The Empress realized that Catherine did not believe them at all. After all, she knew Melanie better than the replacement. The Empress noticed that this tea party was quite exciting. She wanted it to be like this always. Her bright one noticed that Fessellini did not utter a word. Zelda assumed that the girl was listening attentively to the conversation. The Empress asked if she was always so silent. The healer began to get nervous. She took a small sip of tea. The girl assured that she preferred to listen to the conversation, but her hands were visibly shaking. The events are transferred to the kingdom of Châteaunel. The princess looked at the portrait of His Highness. Lucretia couldn't believe that Gideon was so handsome. The girl was sure that he was ugly. Looking at the portrait, the princess could not understand how one could be so ugly in such a beautiful dress. Lucretia, in her excitement, began to rub the poster with her finger. The thin sheet of paper tore easily. The girl reassured herself that Zelda would not become an empress. The princess threw the paper down angrily. She stepped on her rival's portrait with her heel. There were lumps of dirt on the portrait of the empress. Lucretia reported that this was exactly what Zelda's face looked like. The princess longed to see disgust on the emperor's face. The girl realized that Gideon needed to see the true face of his wife. She wondered if the emperor's face would remain as beautiful. Having bowed, Melanie said that it was time for her to go. The Empress asked the girl to be careful on the way. Zelda noticed that the concubine looked tired. The substitution assumed that she had been sitting for too long with an interesting book. The girl admitted that she was reading a book on an interesting topic. Rose explained that she got so carried away that she couldn't stop. Her Highness asked what the book was about. Zelda suggested that it was somehow related to magic. The Empress admitted that she wanted to look at the book that the girl liked. She asked if the concubine would mind her entering her palace. Rose admitted that it would be an honor for her. The Empress promised to announce the time of her visit a little later. The Archduke greeted Her Highness with a bow. The girl realized that the minister was polite because of Rose's presence. Martis greeted the concubine with a bow. The substitute found these manners suspiciously polite. The Empress was curious about what business he would give her a headache about. The girl did not hesitate to ask him about what issue he had come to see her about. Martin explained that he needed to give a gift to Her Highness. He took a small box from his bosom. The guy explained that the gift was sent by the royal family. The spy said that Prince Tesler asked to give her the gift personally. Martin was sitting in the Empress's office opposite her. The guy suggested opening the gift first. The Empress noticed his serious expression. Zelda was curious about what the prince had sent. The box swung open with a click. The substitute felt a strange sensation in her hands. The girl realized that the box was made with the help of cold and heat magic. Zelda saw a ring with a pink diamond. The Empress shuddered involuntarily. Her eyes widened in fear and drops of cold sweat began to flow from her face. The guy assumed that she knew who the ring belonged to. The girl remembered her last day in the royal palace. The friend asked Zelda why she was leaving the estate. The girl apologized, explaining that she had to make an urgent decision. The maid said that she would not be able to visit the place for some time. She promised to tell the details when we met. The girl handed Bonus her ring. The decoration was especially valuable to her. The maid was a little taken aback by such a gift. Bonus reminded her that it was a pink diamond ring. Her friend asked if Zelda really wanted to give it away. The girl explained that the prince had given her the gift for one of her birthdays. Zelda explained that the prince had done it very arrogantly. She was sure that the ring was valuable. The maid suggested that it could be useful to her friend. The Empress jumped up from her seat. Zelda grabbed the fireplace tool. She pointed the sharp tips at the boy's neck. The girl asked the minister why Bonus's ring was in this box. The Empress pressed lightly on the Duke's neck. The boy asked him to calm down. Zelda said that he had to answer a question first. She warned that she could calm the Duke down forever. The minister assured that he also knew nothing. Martin assured that he was only given a box with a ring. The girl could not understand why the prince did such a thing. The spy assumed that it was a warning. The aristocrat explained that the prince was beginning to worry. The boy assumed that Tesler was worried about the fact that Zelda had become special to the emperor. A slight shudder ran through the replacement's body. She couldn't accept that Tesler knew about everything. The Empress pressed roughly on the spy's throat. The substitution assumed that he had passed the news on to the prince. The minister assured that he had learned from his subordinate that they had spent the night together. The guy explained that he had immediately received the box after that. The Duke assumed that someone had told Tesler the news before he knew it. He was sure that the prince had planted another spy because he did not trust him. Martin assured that the prince had eyes and ears in the imperial palace other than him. The minister was sure that this man was close to the lady. Zelda hoped that the prince would not kill her friend. The girl was actively practicing her punches on the parade ground. She wanted fatigue to knock bad thoughts out of her head. The Empress involuntarily recalled her lover's sweet smile. She fell to her knees. Large drops of tears rolled from her eyes. The substitute realized that she had failed in her role. The girl wiped her eyes. Realizing that the time for regrets had passed, she decided to make sure it was safe. Tears slowly flowed down her face. Hot drops fell next to the sword. The Empress looked at her reflection in the polished blade of her sword. She was determined to find the spy. The girl decided to hide her anger and wait for the right moment. The Empress heard heavy steps. The man hovered over her and reminded her that she couldn't use the training ground without permission from the commander. Zelda turned around frantically and looked at the man. He assumed she wasn't one of his knights. The commander drew his sword blade. The metal gleamed in the semi-darkness. The minister said that this was unacceptable. The man reminded that the war had ended only recently. The aristocrat couldn't believe that they were going to participate in an intercontinental hunting tournament. Shaitan said that it was time to give the citizens a chance to catch their breath. The man said that he understood his colleague's concerns. He explained that it could be a good opportunity if the competition was held in the Raffian Empire. The ministers said they could discuss the topic as much as they wanted. The guy said that His Highness had the final say. Gideon ignored the elders' conversations. He read the letter carefully. It said that the Wyverns had decided to cooperate after a decade. The interlocutor suggested that now was the time for peace and harmony. The emperor realized that thanks to the hunting tournament, the powers of the states would come together. According to legend, the person who owns the wyvern egg will rule all continents. This tournament was a unique opportunity to unite the southern and northern continents. They had been feuding even before the war began. All states gathered for an intercontinental hunting tournament. The purpose of the competition was to evaluate each other's abilities. The aristocrat understood that the war was over. The ruler assumed that this letter was written by Emperor Tabello. He believed that the wyverns would return, which is why he was looking for a peaceful solution to the problem. Gideon assumed that the opponent was looking for a vulnerability. The boy suggested that this could have prevented the war. He asked what the reaction of other countries was. The elder said that the others accepted this proposal. Hadrian said that the second principal of the Pashta Empire would also participate. The prince and princess of Chantanel were also going to participate. The man said that they would soon visit the Raphian Empire to see Gideon. Smiling, the guy suggested that the empress would like it. The emperor asked whether the final part of the tournament would take place in Pashta. The minister said that the competition would begin in the Raphian Empire and end in the Pashta Empire. The man said that it was necessary to prepare for the visit with dignity. Gideon glanced at his watch. The emperor asked for a 10-minute pause. The man ran up to the emperor. The aristocrat asked the duke what was going on. Catherine's father said he had heard that the emperor had not visited the concubine's palace. Callios reminded that his lordship must give affection to everyone at the same time, so that peace reigns in the palace. The guy clarified whether the aristocrat received his affection. The guest was a little taken aback by such a question. Gideon asked with irritation how he knew about his affection. The emperor reminded him that a moment ago he said that with the same kindness for everyone, peace will reign. The guy asked if he had experienced it himself. The duke said that this was not what he meant. Gideon turned sharply and announced that the guest could go. The guest grabbed the hilt of the sword. The duke warned that if Gideon would only give affection to the empress, chaos would begin. The emperor took his sword out of its sheath and explained that the word "give affection" was not appropriate for his wife. The man admitted in a trembling voice that he had been reckless. The worker asked His Highness to calm down. The guy reminded them that they were still in the conference room. The emperor said that they would finish the meeting in an hour. The butler reminded him that he had planned to hold the meeting until midnight. Gideon explained that talking about Zelda had made him miss her. The ruler said that they could continue the meeting the following morning. Zelda jumped up sharply when she heard the whistle of the sword. She clutched the blade tightly in her hands. The girl understood that without light Mark would not recognize her. The replacement heard a pleasant voice. It warned her that the man was blind. The man was amazed that a female knight stood before him. Mark was wary because she was training in the semi-darkness with a sword on the training ground. Zelda knew that if he pointed the sword at her, she would have to fight back. The girl could not let the knight know about her status. The blind man noticed her alien aura. The knight could not recognize her. The man assumed that she was a knight who accompanied Her Highness. Mark admitted that he wanted to increase the escort because of concerns. The man asked the stranger to be sure that she got this position thanks to his efforts. The empress was glad that she had not been exposed. Mark introduced himself and asked the knight's name. The girl introduced herself as Bonus. The blind man heard the door open. Sharon looked at Her Highness uncertainly. Zelda informed the commander that it was time for her to leave. The girl assured that Her Highness had been looking for her. Zelda let her hair down and asked what was going on. They walked quickly along the path, illuminated only by the dim moonlight. The assistant reported that they were in trouble. The girl explained that Gideon was heading to Her Highness's palace. The chestnut horse ran quickly along the dimly lit path. The maid waved to Her Highness. Zelda asked where her husband was. The maid explained that he had entered through the palace gates. She advised the empress to hurry. The replacement frantically realized that Gideon could find out that she had secretly left the palace. The girl realized that she had too many secrets from her husband. Zelda told her assistant that she did not expect the guy to come. The empress was sure that the meeting would last until the morning. The girl told the emperor that the lady was not feeling well. Sharon assured them that they had bought some time. The aristocrat realized that she should take a shower. The maid said that there was no time for that. The girl assured that His Highness was already on his way to the bedroom. The maid rushed to bring a dressing gown. Sharon asked her mistress to lie down in bed. Suddenly the door creaked. The assistant quickly covered the lady with a blanket. Sharon greeted His Highness. Gideon assumed that his wife had already gone to bed. The file explained that Zelda had a fever. The girl explained that Her Highness had been sweating heavily but was feeling better now. The assistant assured that Zelda had become much better and promised to look after her. The guy sat down next to his beloved. The handsome man gently touched her face, brushing away her silky hair. Gideon assumed that his wife still had a fever. The emperor was surprised that his wife slept without clothes. The girl lay with her eyes closed. Zelda hoped that her husband would soon leave. The handsome man took off his extra clothes. The guy decided to relieve his beloved from the heat. He kissed his wife tenderly. The empress realized that she must not open her eyes. It was difficult for the girl to restrain herself. Very embarrassed, she asked when her husband had managed to arrive. Gideon asked if she was really asleep. Zelda explained that she felt something on her lips and woke up. The boy explained that he was going to lower her temperature. The empress assured him that she was feeling better. Gideon suggested that he should leave. The empress suggested that her lover just lie down next to her. The guy said that he was uncomfortable because he had been missing her lips all day. The emperor understood that he should not behave in this way with a sick person. Gideon asked for forgiveness. The handsome man admitted that he did not want to stop. The guy assured that his wife was too charming. Zelda pressed herself against her lover's muscular body. The girl frantically realized that she could not control her feelings for His Highness. With a heavy heart, she decided not to hide her affection. The empress was glad that she did not have to hold back when they were alone. The girl tenderly addressed her lover by name. Zelda asked him not to show too much affection for her. The empress explained that she was pleased with Gideon's concern. The wife said that they should avoid a hostile reaction because of such behavior. The girl could not allow her lover to be in danger. Gideon said that he understood her concern. The emperor reported that her arguments were too weak. She told her lover that it was her wish. Zelda was afraid that Bonus and her lover could get into trouble. The handsome man agreed to fulfill her request. The guy said that sometimes for no reason, people wanted to fulfill someone else's wishes. Gideon said that it was only temporary. The guy asked his beloved not to be upset. Rosie sat by the bed, carefully examining the page of the book with an incomprehensible text. The concubine could not believe that there was no way to read the ancient language of the Pashta Empire. She carefully took the basket out from under the bed. The healer asked the creature to come out of the egg. Rosie was annoyed that the creature was bothering her for no reason. The wyvern twitched in the egg. The concubine could not believe that the creature had been in the egg for more than 300 years. Rose realized that on her highness's cheek there was the same scar as in the picture. The girl was sure that she had just imagined it. The egg rolled across the floor. She asked the creature to calm down. The girl did not want all the servants to come running to this noise. Rose asked the wyvern to be patient a little longer. The concubine promised to take care of her highness. The events moved to the kingdom of Chateaunel. The butler excitedly asked the workers to hurry. The man explained that the prince and princess were already leaving for the Raffian Empire. The worker ordered the servants to check all the luggage. The guest greeted their highness. Tesla reminded his sister that the trip was only her whim. The boy asked the princess not to leave him. The prince said that his sister should not try to seduce the emperor in the open. The girl reminded him with irritation that this was the purpose of her trip. He said that Lucretia would be quite content to sit quietly in place. His Highness assured that in this way they would get closer to what they had planned. Tesla confidently placed his foot on the step. The girl snorted discontentedly that her beauty would be enough to seduce. Her brother advised her to attract the attention of the emperor. The principal asked to observe how Zelda would behave with His Highness. Lucretia assumed that her brother wanted her to behave like Zelda. The princess said that the replacement was an insensitive cracker. The guy was outraged that his sister would say something like that. The runaway assured that the guys didn't like girls like Zelda. She assured that only a madman could fall in love with such a woman. Tesla reminded that his sister needed to please the madman. The events are transferred to the Empire of Raffian. Zelda confidently walked towards her husband. The guy was sitting surrounded by his concubines. The empress chuckled, assuming she was too late. The substitute realized that there might be a spy of the prince among the concubines. The handsome man explained that everyone had come early because they had missed him so much. The guy, dejected, assumed that his wife did not share these feelings. Zelda remembered her request, but she couldn't understand why her husband answered her rudely and coldly. The girl couldn't understand why her lover had such a satisfied face. Substitution understood that he was overacting. His Highness informed Raphael that it was time to begin the meeting. The boy began a short story about the Intercontinental Tournament. The butler reported that this competition was held annually. Raphael explained that the competition stopped because of the war. The worker explained that this year the southern continent demanded that the competition be resumed. He said that after lunch the empire would send letters to the participating countries with their decision. The guy explained that the starting point would be the Raphaean Empire. Raphael said that there would be a hunt from start to finish. He said that was the point of the Intercontinental Tournament. Ruby eyes lit up with delight. The Empress's heart was bursting out of her chest. She realized that this was a great chance to have fun. Zelda was eager to take part. The girl realized that the weaker sex had not taken part in the hunt for a long time. Rose specified which country would be the destination. The butler smiled and said that their empire would be the starting point. The Empress was amazed that she was so interested in the hunting tournament. The girl assumed that the concubine had relatives in Pashta. The guy said that not only monarchs would visit their state. Raphael explained that the empresses would also attend the event. Her Highness reminded that empresses usually did not participate in competitions in foreign territories. The husband reported that this time everyone wanted to participate. Gideon noted that this greatly interested the wife. The girl felt uncomfortable because her husband began to treat her coldly. The emperor announced that the rulers and concubines of the southern continent would participate in the hunt. Catherine jumped up and said that this was incomprehensible. The Duchess realized that they would have to participate as well. The concubine assumed that the southern continent wanted to disgrace them in this way. The girls of the southern continent were excellent swordsmen. The ladies wore lighter and more revealing clothes because of the weather. The Empress realized that she would also be able to participate in the hunt. Smiling, Raphael assured that the ladies were not obliged to participate. Rose suggested that the competitor was trying to undermine the spirit of the northern continent. The first concubine recalled that they could barely stay in the saddle. She couldn't understand what kind of hunt they were talking about. Zelda realized that she was the only one who was happy about this news. The assistant reported that the upcoming competition was not just a competition. Raphael reported that during the tournament, the countries would examine their relationships with each other. He could not imagine which of the noble ladies would represent the northern continent. Zelda expressed a desire to participate in the hunt. Her husband assured her that she did not have to force herself. The girl shared that she had been learning horseback riding since childhood. She was sure that she would cope no worse than the knights. Gideon explained that hunting is something completely different. The guy said that they would hunt not only hares. The Empress reminded them that no women from the northern continent would be able to represent them in the competition. Zelda knew that this could be a disgrace. The girl reminded that the Raphaean Empire would be the starting point of the competition. She understood that someone had to meet the girls of the southern continent. Gideon reminded that his beloved could get hurt during the hunt. The guy could not understand why she would compete. The Emperor could not allow his wife to do such a thing. Zelda reminded that she was the Empress. She was sure that the concubines would take better care of the guests at the ball. Everyone agreed with Her Highness's decision. Raphael reminded that it was only necessary to catch animals. The guy was sure that there would be no danger for Her Highness. The Empress asked if her husband could teach her to shoot a bow. Zelda assured that she had no experience in shooting. The handsome man rose abruptly from his seat. The guy accused his wife of recklessness. Gideon asked his lover to follow him. He did not want to raise his voice at Zelda in front of the concubines. A little confused, the girl asked why her lover was so angry. The handsome man suddenly pressed her against the wall and said that first they should kiss. Gideon noticed her unruly lips. The Empress reminded him, her voice trembling with emotion, that there were people outside. The girl reminded him of their agreement. She tried to push her lover away. Gideon explained that he had fulfilled her request. The Emperor explained that she asked not to behave tenderly in front of people. The guy said that he did it behind their backs. The handsome guy started to scream in mockery, that she could have fallen off her horse. The aristocrat assured that thanks to the shouts, those present at the meeting would have no doubts. The boy suddenly threw off his jacket. Zelda asked what he was doing. The Emperor reminded her that he had allowed her to participate in the tournament. The handsome man wanted to get what he wanted. The girl, embarrassed, asked why such a rush. She promised to fulfill her duty at night. The guy suddenly picked her up in his arms. Gently stroking his beloved's cheek, Gideon assured her that this was the most appropriate time. Having cleared his throat, the Emperor announced that the meeting was over. He thanked Her Majesty and the concubines for their participation. The Empress noticed that Rose had not gone anywhere. She asked what had happened. The girl said that she was worried about their Highness's quarrel. Zelda assured them that there was no need to worry. The Empress explained that they had managed to come to an agreement. The concubine asked whether she could invite her mistress to her chambers that day. Zelda assured that she was grateful for her invitation. The herbalist offered to accompany the lady. The Empress was a little taken aback when she saw that there were many books scattered on the floor. The girl asked Rose what had happened. The modest woman explained that the room's condition had not changed despite the cleaning. The lady asked if Rose was comfortable living in such a room. The book lover assured that she had everything organized, but everything was just different. The Empress tripped over some strange object. The girl looked at the strange egg with interest. Taking it in her hands, she assumed that the egg belonged to an ostrich. Zelda asked to prepare an ostrich egg for her. The Empress was amazed that her friend was embarrassed. The replacement tried to turn everything into a joke. The concubines assured that she was not sure about it. Zelda carefully touched the strange shell. The Empress noticed that the egg, different from the ostrich. The girl was sure that the egg had moved a moment ago. Zelda assumed that the chick was trying to hatch. The healer, smiling casually, promised to watch the egg that day. The concubine offered Her Highness a piece of lemon cake. Rose assured that their cook prepared very tasty desserts. The Empress admitted that she was hungry. The girl suggested forgetting about the useless egg and go to the terrace. From under the bed, a strange glow was visible. The egg began to tremble, emitting a strange warm light. The shell suddenly cracked. The creature quickly shook off the remains of the shell. The wyvern could not understand why it had been sitting in the shell for more than 300 years. The wyvern decided to get out of its vile shell as quickly as possible. The creature fell out of the basket and hurt itself. The baby decided to look for its mother. The wyvern, seeing the Empress, realized that she was its owner. The prince frantically realized that the mercenary was the third prince of the Pashta Empire. Norton sent the letter as soon as he was back on his feet. The third prince will come to Raffian Palace and will be the representative of the empire. The minister assumed that he was expressing his trust in him. Martin realized that he was lucky to find not only a prince. The Duke could not believe that the Lord had sent Princess Lucretia to the Raffian Palace. The assistant assumed that the Lord wanted the princess to attracted unnecessary attention to herself. He realized that Norton and Lucretia would meet at the tournament. The assistant assumed that she had attracted Gideon's attention. The guy frantically realized that a conflict could arise. Martin suggested that the couple needed help to meet. The guy realized that for the first time in a long time, a unique spectacle could arise. The assistant was sure that this could interfere with Teslar's plan. The aristocrat assured that the boy only had to follow the prince. The minister was sure that they would be able to find out the identity of the spy. The boy asked the Duke not to worry about it. Martin asked when Prince Norton would arrive. He realized that they had a great pawn in their hands. The boy was ready to make the first move. Zelda knew that the Emperor would be busy until late. The girl understood that if her lover decided to come to her bedroom, she would have time to return from the training ground. The Empress noticed the stents with weapons. She had not seen these weapons before. The replacement assumed that they were prepared for the Hunters tournament. Zelda took one of the blades with a smile. She knew she would be participating in a hunting competition. The Empress was glad to be freed from the necessity of looking after the inner court. The Empress knew she would have to be careful during the hunt. She was looking forward to seeing the fighting abilities of her rivals. The girl heard heavy footsteps behind her. Mark reported that they met again. The Empress assumed that he was training outside. The man explained that he had been training until he was sweating in the forest. He assumed that Bonus was nervous about the hunting tournament. The commander was sure that she wanted to protect the Empress from the impudent girls of the south. The man reported that the ruler of Cartia had a fiery character. Zelda asked if there was a country in the south where an empress ruled. Mark explained that she was the monarch of the Delroy Empire. He reported that the empire was the second most powerful on the southern continent. The commander-in-chief said that the people of Delroy were famous for their courage. The girl asked to tell her information about other empires. Mark told about the ruler of the empire Tabella. The empress recalled that he had spoken out against a war between the continents. The man asked whether Prince Kelvin had become the successor. The commander said that among all the princes, the first son was excluded. He said that the second prince, who was the son of a concubine, tried to gain recognition from the ministers. Zelda asked why he had switched to a whisper. The blonde assumed it was because of him. Bowing his head, Norton introduced himself. The Empress was confused. She couldn't understand why the prince had appeared so early. The girl knew that there was still a whole week before the guests arrived. Zelda greeted the prince. The blind man introduced the Empress as a knight. The substitution suggested that Norton knew her. The girl realized that this was a big problem. The Empress knew that a formal greeting would soon follow. Zelda knew that her identity would be revealed. She realized that she could not call herself an empress next to the commander. The man suggested that the prince should return to his quarters. The empress offered to accompany the guests. Zelda decided to talk to the prince alone. The girl did not want the truth to be revealed in an unpleasant way. Norton assured her that it would be an honor for him. The empress felt awkward. She realized that she had to talk to the boy before returning to the palace. The girl knew there was no time to hesitate. Zelda asked if the prince would participate in the hunting tournament. The guy grinned and admitted that he had killed the animal he had particularly wanted to hunt. Norton said that it was an extremely insidious and dangerous creature. Zelda noticed his ironic tone. The girl tried to talk to him. The prince said that he was listening to Her Highness. She realized with a rush that he had revealed her identity. The empress could not understand how he knew what she looked like. The guest suggested that she might not know him. The guy admitted that he had seen her several times in the kingdom of Châteauneuf. Zelda reminded him that there were many people in the kingdom. She asked how the prince remembered her. The aristocrat explained that he was among the hired knights of the kingdom. The prince explained that there was a struggle for power in his homeland. Norton decided to hide his identity and status. The knight wandered around different countries as a mercenary. The guy explained that he had managed to work in the kingdom of Châteauneuf. Zelda excitedly asked how he had learned about her status. The guest explained that he had learned this from a friend from her country. The empress asked why he had pretended not to know her. The boy explained that he noticed that the commander did not know about her status. The prince decided not to reveal the girl's identity. Embarrassed, Zelda thanked him. The aristocrat admitted that he had some doubts about his guess. Norton noticed that she was different from how she looked in the kingdom. The guy understood that everyone had their own reasons for their actions. He understood Zelda perfectly since he himself hid his status. Zelda knew that she had many secrets besides the scar. The empress didn't have time to ask him for a favor. The guy immediately agreed. The girl was a little taken aback because she didn't have time to say anything. The prince assumed that she wanted to pretend that they didn't know each other. The knight kissed her hand tenderly. Norton hoped that she would give him a warm welcome. The girl sat next to her lover with excitement. She was very excited. The emperor said that he wanted to warn about something. He explained that the men of the southern continent were rude and impudent. Gideon asked not to be too surprised by such behavior. Zelda realized that yesterday she had not seen the prince's face very well. It seemed to her that the mercenary was not like that at all. Smiling, the wife assured him that he could not worry. The emperor was confident that his wife would be convinced of his beauty when she saw the men of the southern continent. The girl was still worried. Zelda was afraid that the prince would play badly, that they were not familiar. She hoped that Norton would keep his word. Raphael introduced the prince and opened the door. The guest entered the room with a bow. He wished the Raffian Empire glory and fertility. Norton greeted their highnesses. Zelda calmed down, realizing that he had kept his promise. The emperor clarified whether the guy was indeed Norton Asylum. The guest was a little confused. The knight assumed that there were some doubts about his status. Gideon realized that the prince must look different. The girl assumed that her husband was surprised that Prince Norton was more handsome than he expected. The empress realized that she needed to change the subject. Zelda noticed the prince's delightful appearance. The girl reported that the guest was a fine representative of his continent. Silence fell. Zelda frantically realized that she had said something wrong. Suddenly, the foreigner blushed. The prince reported that Her Highness had flattered. The handsome man looked at his beloved with jealousy. The emperor was outraged that his wife had said such words to another man. The butler apologized for interrupting the conversation. Raphael said that the prince needed to confirm his participation in the tournament. The guy said that the minister was already waiting outside. The prince bowed and said that he would not be able to join the tea party. The door slammed shut, leaving the emperor alone with his beloved. The guy grabbed Zelda's hand roughly. He asked his beloved to repeat what she said. The empress assumed that the beloved was jealous. The girl assured him that she complimented him out of politeness. Gideon agreed that plain guys should be complimented. The empress reported that in her eyes the guest looked plain. The girl assured that out of politeness she praised his appearance. She said that he would never compare to her beloved. An arrogant smile appeared on the emperor's face. Gideon assumed that in the eyes of his beloved, the prince was not very handsome. He clarified whether Zelda knew why he loved her. The empress assumed it was because of her appearance. He assured her that it was only the fifth reason. The guy thanked his beloved for her honesty. Zelda felt embarrassed that she was constantly lying. She was ashamed that he smiled without knowing about her lie. The emperor checked to see if everything was okay with his beloved's heart. He remembered how hard her heart was beating. Gideon assured that if there was an opportunity, he would buy and insert a new heart. The girl couldn't understand why it sounded so cold-blooded. The Emperor admitted that he had always been a cold man. Zelda gently took her lover's hand. The wife said that because of this she gave him warmth every night. The Emperor was surprised that Zelda's hand was always warm. The girl was glad that she always felt fresh next to the Emperor. Zelda realized that they were happy when they were together. Their body temperatures seemed to complement each other. The Empress realized that this happiness would not last long. The replacement understood that soon the beloved would meet Lucretia. The butler announced that the carriage of the kingdom of Chantanel had arrived. With a smile, the princess entered the palace, and her gait was confident and graceful. She wished for the Raffian Empire to have boundless glory. Tesler greeted their highnesses. The princess bowed and greeted the gentlemen. The replacement greeted the guests. Zelda looked with disdain at the prince's smug smile. She wanted to talk to the guy alone. The girl was very worried about Bonus. Lucretia reported that her highness was difficult to recognize. The emperor asked how the guests had become friends with his wife. Zelda realized that her lover had used an inappropriate word. The girl understood that she had always been pathetic. Her childhood was spent together with the children of the royal family. The replacement had been a living toy for them all her life. They never had friendly relations. Smiling at the Empress, she said that she often visited the palace as a child. The guest assured that she and Zelda were like sisters. The girl could not understand how she dared to say such a thing. The maid offered the guests to try the coffee. The princess was delighted with the delicate vanilla foam. Lucretia admitted that the coffee was incredibly delicious. She licked the airy foam from her tender pink lips. The girl reported that this vanilla flavor was wonderful. The Empress could not believe that the guests would continue to behave in this way. The replacement realized that the prince wanted her to immediately give up her position as Empress. Zelda wondered if her lover had seen the princess's seduction. The ruler noticed an interesting way of enjoying coffee. The boy assumed that this was a custom from the kingdom of Chantanel. The princess's body suddenly shuddered. The girl did not expect such a reaction from the emperor. She said that she loved this coffee because of the vanilla foam. Lucretia advised the boy to enjoy the drink. The princess carefully placed her cup on the saucer. The girl noticed that the color of her hair was similar to the color of the empress's eyes. Confused, Zelda let out a nervous laugh. The handsome man reported that the colors were indeed similar. Lucretia reported that it was impossible to touch her highness's eyes. The girl reported that her hair could be touched. The emperor gently placed his hand on his wife's thigh. The handsome man said that he preferred to touch his beloved's eyes every day. Gideon assured that everything was fine with him. The princess, confused, asked what he wanted to say. The guy explained that you can touch a person with your gaze. Lucretia began to nervously bite her lips. The aristocrat assured that she knew this very well. She noticed that the emperor was incredibly romantic. The replacement realized that her rival was surprised by this turn of events. The girl knew that most men succumbed to the princess's seduction. The princess did not expect that the man in the second marriage would not be interested in her at all. The handsome man looked at his beloved. The emperor asked whether he considered his spouse romantic. Zelda realized that her rival believed that the emperor could not love her. Pomraknev, the girl admitted that such moments happen. Gideon noticed that there was foam above his wife's lip. Embarrassed, the replacement admitted that she had not noticed. The girl asked for a handkerchief. The handsome man gently took Zelda by the chin. The emperor tenderly kissed his wife. The princess's face showed anger and indignation. The aristocrat admitted that the foam was very tasty. The girl realized that the situation could become more complicated. Zelda knew she had to be more careful. The changeling tried to stay alert. Tesler drew attention to the strong love. The guy assured that for the royal family this was joyful news. The emperor acknowledged that this was a rare opportunity for him. Gideon asked his guests to wait for him for a while. The guests said that the empress should be more gentle with his highness. The princess explained that her highness had not shown her feelings since childhood. The handsome man couldn't believe that Zelda had been like this since she was a child. The girl thanked God that Enel had dispelled her doubts. The emperor reported that thanks to the princess's coffee recipe, he was able to enjoy vanilla foam. Gideon thanked his guest. The girl went out into the street with her brother. Lucretia could not understand what the emperor saw in this simpleton. Her brother ordered her to be quiet. The prince could not understand how his sister could come up with something like that. The ruler reminded her that he had asked her not to do anything and just smile. Lucretia was sure that her rival had slipped the emperor a love potion. She could not understand how the handsome man could look at the substitution with such love. Tesler insulted his sister and ordered her not to scream. The girl asked if her brother could find a potion to change the color of his eyes. The princess could not accept that the color of her rival's eyes was similar to the color of her hair. Her brother ordered Lucretia to immediately stop this conversation. The prince greeted his beloved. Bowing, Norton introduced himself and stated his status. Knight, greet the former masters. Lucretia shuddered sharply. The girl began to slowly back away. She tried to hide behind her brother's massive back. The aristocrat lost her balance and began to fall. The prince grabbed her hand. Norton asked his ex to be careful. The girl thanked him for his help with a trembling voice. The prince assured her that it was not necessary because he could not simply watch her fall. The handsome man reminded that he himself had recently fallen from a great height. Fear was visible in his sky-blue eyes. The girl asked how it happened. Norton assured that nothing serious had happened to him. The princess involuntarily remembered their night when they lay in each other's arms. Then she swore her love to the guy. With a trembling voice, Lucretia asked if the ex was really the prince of the Pashta Empire. The handsome man clarified why she had doubts. Someone chimed in. He said that the prince knew better about this fall. Tesler slammed the door angrily. The boy couldn't believe that a hired knight without a family or tribe turned out to be a prince. The aristocrat couldn't understand how the mercenary survived after falling off a cliff. The prince looked at his sister with disdain, asking if she knew about her lover's status. Lucretia assured him that she would not have betrayed her lover if she had known this. The girl could not understand why the mercenary hid his status from her. Tesler explained that it was because there was a bloody struggle for the throne in the Pashta Empire. The princess assumed that her brother was talking about the rebellion and murder of the first prince. The guy was sure that because of this, the third prince fled to the northern continent and hid his identity. Tesler realized that the enemy should not have survived the fall. He realized that the third principal was too tenacious. The prince regretted not cutting off the boy's head and throwing him off the cliff. The handsome man was disappointed that the assassination attempt had failed. Lucretia declared her desire to see the prince. Her brother assumed that she had gone mad. The guy advised his sister to sit still and not to twitch. Tesler promised his younger sister to sort things out completely. The princess was sure that she had to revive Norton's feelings for her. The girl realized that she had to melt the heart of her former lover. The aristocrat was afraid that he would get in the way. The prince asked his sister to behave calmly and not do anything. Lucretia assured that her lover would do everything for her. The aristocrat knew that Norton still loved her. The girl was sure that there were no other options. The prince reminded her that his sister had run away with a mercenary and given birth to his child. Lucretia explained to her brother that Gideon did not need to know everything. She suggested setting up Norton with Zelda. The princess wanted to ruin her rival's reputation. Tesler realized that his sister still didn't understand what had happened. The naive woman was sure that the royal knights had let Norton and the child go. The fugitive was sure that Norton and the child had left the kingdom of Châteauneuf. Tesler asked his sister what she would do if she did not win the emperor's heart. This option was unacceptable for the prince. The fugitive said that in the worst-case scenario she would go to the Pashta Empire. Lucretia understood that if she did not become empress, she would be the wife of a prince. She understood that she would eventually become a duchess. The girl dreamed of joining the imperial family. Lucretia understood that Norton or her son could become an emperor. The boy did not dare to tell his sister the truth. Tesler realized that his sister would inevitably meet the boy in the empire. The handsome man asked the princess to give up Norton. You could see bewilderment in his eyes. The guy explained that after she returned home, the bastard fell off a cliff. Lucretia couldn't believe her brother's word. The prince said that the survival was a miracle. He admitted that he still does not know the reason. Tesler assumed that he would want to take revenge on his sister. The guy advised his sister not to try to get along with him. He warned that the prince wanted to kill Lucretia. The girl assured that they had to get rid of Norton. The princess did not want him to get under her feet. The beauty assured that this also concerned the child. The aristocrat decided to find out if Rams was alive and if so, where he was now. Tesler allowed his sister to approach Norton to obtain information. The prince was certain that the baby had not survived. He understood that this was too much of a shock for Lucretia. The guy asked his sister if she was okay. She briefly confirmed. The beauty smiled radiantly and assured that Norton would not kill her. Lucretia said that they could have a child again. The girl's status as a former lover played a role. She decided to change clothes and go to Norton again. Tesler had already gotten used to his sister's bad temper. He couldn't understand how the princess loved Norton so much, and at the same time desired the emperor. The prince realized that his sister was truly an amazing woman. Tesler condemned her reckless behavior. There was a loud knock at the door. Norton asked the princess what she was doing. Lucretia, putting her hands on her chest, assured him that she had missed him very much. Tears appeared in the girl's eyes. The guy tried to slam the door. He asked the princess to go back. The girl grabbed the door handle abruptly. The prince asked irritably what she was doing. Lucretia was taken aback when her lover addressed her informally. During the escape, the mercenary observed ethics. The girl realized that this way he was even more seductive. Behind the shining eyes, she pressed herself against Norton's hand. Lucretia noticed that he had become even more charming. The guy abruptly pulled his hand away. The third principal could not understand the behavior of the ex. The princess reminded that she was always crazy about him. She reminded how she ran away with him. Norton assumed that it was her habit. The guy reminded that she ran away from him and Rams. The princess asked if her son was living well. Norton explained that the ex had no right to ask about their son. He recalled that after running away, she ordered them to be thrown off the cliff. Having paid, Lucretia assured that this was not so. The princess said that only on that day did she learn how her brother had treated his lover. The beauty reported that before that, Tesler said that they were safe and sound. She lowered her eyes in shame. The girl said that she would never have left her lover and son if she had known that this would happen. Lucretia assured that she left for the safety of the child. She assured that she was very sorry. The princess reported that she could not sleep for a long time at night and cried. The girl said that she thought about her lover and son. Norton adjusted his silky hair. He assured that the ex did not have to worry about Rams. Lucretia thought she heard crying again. The girl suffered greatly after the birth of her first child. The handsome man asked why she came to him. Norton said that it was painful for him to see his beloved. She noticed that the prince hesitated. The girl assured that after she saw him, she realized her feelings. The princess walked confidently towards him and reached for her lips. Norton cautiously leaned away from her. Lucretia assured that she missed him every night. She gently took the guy's hand. The beauty was sure that she could manipulate the prince. The girl asked where their son was. The aristocrat admitted that Rams was not far from the imperial palace. Norton asked his beloved not to worry about it. Smiling, the guy assured that their child was completely healthy. Lucretia pressed herself against his muscular chest. The princess knew that her ex could not hate her. The events moved to the training ground. Zelda clarified whether she held the bow correctly. She admitted that it was the first time she had held such a weapon. The empress explained that her hands were shaking violently because of it. Her lover gently adjusted her hand and asked her to pull the bowstring tighter. The arrow whistled through the fresh night air. The tip easily pierced the blue part of the target. Gideon asked his beloved not to lose heart. The emperor reminded her that this was her first time. The empress laughed and suggested that she had no talent for archery. The girl was glad that she had managed to hit where she had aimed. The handsome man asked his beloved to try again. He assured her that his wife had done an excellent job for the first time, and he asked the empress to try again. The boy asked Zelda to place her leading foot a little closer to the target. The emperor gently took his beloved by the chin and asked her not to raise her head. The aristocrat explained that it was not worth taking her eyes off the target. Zelda had to be disingenuous so that her lover would not suspect anything. She was glad to receive such guidance. The girl plunged into her childhood memories. At the age of 13, the little girl first took a bow in her hands. The handsome man noticed that the girl was wearing a riding suit. Gideon admitted that he wanted to ride horses with his beloved. The emperor said that he wanted to ride with his wife all night until they were out of breath. The girl blushed with embarrassment. She asked why the handsome man was saying such things. Gideon asked his lover to ignore him and continue training. The empress admitted that she was having trouble concentrating. The guy asked to pay him some attention. The handsome guy apologized for not being able to restrain himself before visiting her palace. He doubted that he would be able to restrain himself in the palace. Gideon asked for forgiveness in advance. Mark burst into the room. The commander-in-chief said that he was disappointed in his master. The girl realized that she would be exposed in this way. The emperor asked why he had entered the room without warning. Gideon assumed that the knight had not seen the servants before entering. The replacement realized that the beloved would find out everything. The commander-in-chief asked how he could do something like that to Her Highness. Smiling, the emperor admitted that he also felt sorry for his wife. The guy admitted that he couldn't hold back. Mark couldn't believe that the gentleman was a person who was capable of doing such a thing in such a place. The man began shaking the aristocrat. Gideon admitted that he also did not know that he was crazy. The commander-in-chief assumed that the empress would be very surprised when she found out about this. Laughing, the emperor said that his wife already knew about it. The girl sighed with relief. Zelda realized that the men were talking about different things. The empress realized that she had not been caught. Macron decided to pretend he hadn't noticed anything. The knight advised the boy to return to Her Highness. The door slammed shut, leaving a couple in love alone with each other. Gideon extended his hand and invited his beloved to continue in her palace. The girl gently took her husband's hand. Rose asked the creature to never go outside. The concubine could not allow anyone to see the wyvern. The kid assumed it was because he wasn't human. The girl explained that he was a wyvern. The herbalist carefully spread a piece of butter on the bread. Rose told him that the northern and southern continents were fighting wyverns. She asked the creature to imagine what would happen if he showed up at the tournament. The kid hoped that the wyvern would be treated with respect. Rose explained that the creature was valuable. The girl warned that this could lead to war. She was afraid that the Raffian Empire would be held accountable for hiding the wyvern. The baby enjoyed the food. Wyvern reminded her that her mother hid her in the office. Rose told her that her mother was a healing mage. The girl was sure that her mother would not use wyverns for war. The healer dreamed that Her Highness would be able to accept the creature. Wyvern asked why it was so hard for the girl to imagine him. Rose didn't know how to tell the Empress what had happened. She knew that only after deciphering the book would she be able to clarify the situation. The concubine assumed that thanks to Zelda, the wyvern was able to hatch. The healer would like to hear the egg story from the mother herself. Rose assumed that the wyvern had matured from Her Highness's touch. The girl assumed that the Empress was the ruler of the wyverns who could control them. The creature admitted that it was so scared that it almost crawled back into the egg. The baby suggested that for a while it might not be a wyvern. He realized that he couldn't show himself in the form of a wyvern. Rose asked the wyvern to crawl under the bed and sit there. The girl asked him not to get underfoot. The concubine said that she would go wash herself. The baby reminded that the great wyvern obeyed even people. He was determined to find his mistress. The baby flew actively through the garden. The wyvern dreamed of meeting his mistress. The creature wanted her to give it a name. It could not allow people to discover its presence. The kid watched the girl carefully as she walked with freshly washed laundry. The wyvern realized that she needed a new look. The creature flew up to the maid in an instant. It borrowed the girl's body. The color of the girl's eyes changed abruptly. Wyverns had the ability to borrow the body of a human, animal, or even an insect. The kid knew this information very well. He wanted to know what such powerful creatures were capable of. Wyvern was glad that Rosie didn't notice. He looked around realizing that he was not near Rose's palace. The creature in the girl's body heard someone talking. The baby couldn't understand why people were biting each other's lips. The wyvern assumed that one was taking tasty food from the other's mouth. The prince became wary when he saw a strange silhouette outside the window. Tesler could not understand what the man was doing in the tree. He assumed that the stranger was a spy or a hired killer. The guy doubted his theory. The aristocrat quickly put on her shirt. Tesler knew that the assassin would not sit so calmly in the tree. He realized with horror that the maid was sitting in the tree. The girl smiled and asked if it was tasty. The wyvern asked if he had eaten everything and if anyone else had gotten more. The creature asked if he could speak. The stranger suggested that he choked on food or that his ears were blocked. The beloved asked the guy what had happened. Tesler said that some crazy maid had spoken to him while sitting in a tree. The guy pointed his gaze towards the window. He couldn't believe that she had managed to disappear in the blink of an eye. Having bowed, the knight entered the room. He clarified what had happened to the master. The guest said that a maid had been sitting in a tree and spying on him. The boy said that the stranger had 2 braids. The knight could not believe what was said. The aristocrat ordered to immediately catch the stranger. Tesler explained to the knight that he could not let her go. The guest assumed that she had run away towards the main palace. The knight asked if he should catch the scoundrel. Pomraknev ordered the girl to be caught and killed. The knight promised to return soon. The girl gently touched his shirt. She suggested that the prince send the spy away. Tesler asked his beloved to talk nonsense to me. The guy was afraid that someone would find out that they were secretly dating. He suggested Fessellini to start from where they had left off. The girl obediently agreed. The prince asked who his beloved had been before. How to become a concubine. Laughing, the cheater reminded him that she had belonged to him from the very beginning. The girl explained that she was ready to do anything for her lover. The Empress felt a pulsation. Zelda covered her face so that her scar would not show. She hadn't felt such heat since she took the potion. The girl realized that she had to get rid of the fever before her lover woke up. Zelda winced when she heard the cat purring. The animal nimbly jumped into her arms. Its small muzzle rubbed against the Empress's torso. The girl felt a strange sensation, as if something was raging inside her. Zelda heard footsteps approaching. She assumed it was the guards. The Empress doubted that these were soldiers, hugging the fluffy one. The girl decided to hide. The kitten slightly covered its muzzle with its paw. The chosen one could not understand what was happening in the Empress's palace at such a late hour. She assumed that the guy was talking to the maid. The girl was sure that they were not close. The knight gripped the sword tightly in his hands. A whistle sounded. The sharp blade of the sword easily pierced the girl's body. A heart-rending scream was heard. Zelda wanted to know why he killed the maid. The stranger grabbed Zelda abruptly, covering her mouth. He helped the Empress hide in the thick darkness of the night. Teslar's assistant looked around, hearing strange sounds. The subordinate knelt down on one knee next to the motionless body. The boy threw his bloody blade. The Empress heard the footsteps rapidly receding. The stranger assumed that the killer had left. The girl was shocked to see Prince Norton. The boy approached the bloody body of the maid. Norton noticed that the sword used was that of the Knights of the Imperial Raffian family. He assumed that the killer had deliberately left the evidence to avoid suspicion. Norton carefully picked up the murder weapon with a handkerchief. Zelda held the kitten tightly to her. The guest noted that the murder had been done cleanly. The guy said that he would keep the sword for the time being. The Empress asked why the guest was in the garden at such a late hour. The prince became a little agitated. He reported that he saw the maid run away to this place. The guy explained that he was following Prince Teslar's knight who was chasing the maid. The substitute realized that the killer was Lord Ken. The youth was Teslar's escort knight. The girl could not understand the reason why he was pursuing the concubine's maid. The guest assumed that the maid saw something she should not have seen. The guy reminded that there was a spy of Prince Teslar in the castle. Norton assumed that the maid had learned about the identity of the spy. The Empress asked where Norton had seen that knight. The guy said that a huge willow tree was growing near the girl's castle. The girl didn't know where it was, and she assumed that it was the most remote place. The Empress realized that Fessellini was a spy. The substitute found it strange that the escort knight killed the concubine's maid. The prince doubted that the girl was killed because she saw the prince. He was sure that there was another reason for the murder. Zelda couldn't tell the guest that this measure was taken to protect the spy. The guy assumed that Prince Teslar was secretly meeting with the concubine. He was sure that the maid was killed to prevent rumors. The mistress could not understand why she went to the garden of the Empress's palace. The dark silhouette slowly approached the girl. The guest was sure that she ran wherever her eyes looked. Norton wanted to know how Teslar met the concubine. The girl said she had a guess. Rose said she had a guess. The guest spoke before the Empress, trying to defend her. The girl introduced herself to His Highness. The prince asked her what she had heard. The concubine asked him not to worry about it. The girl promised not to tell anyone this information. The healer assured that she loved Her Highness very much. The Empress asked Rose what she was doing in her garden in the middle of the night. The concubine explained that the mistress was holding a cat that she had raised in her bedroom. The girl admitted that she had been looking for a pet for a very long time. Rose explained that she was afraid that problems would arise if others saw her. The girl reported that this is how she ended up in this place. The Empress assumed that it was hard for the pet to be only in the bedroom. Zelda assumed that the pet had hatched from an egg. Panic was visible on the concubine's face. Laughing, the Empress said that she had made an unfortunate joke. The girl asked whether the concubine knew how Prince Teslar and Fessellini met. The healer said that the Marquisate of Asta ran a large business. Before the war, the boy often collaborated with the southern continent. Fessellini visited the royal family of Chatanel several times. The prince assumed that the body would be found the next morning. The guest suggested leaving the place as quickly as possible. The girl realized that if her husband woke up, there could be a misunderstanding. Zelda could not believe that they would leave so easily. The guest said that they could do nothing to help the maid. The prince suggested observing the situation when the body was discovered. Rose suggested discussing the incident a little later. After stroking the kitten, the Empress asked him to return to his mistress. The girl promised to visit the cat. Zelda stroked the soft fur goodbye. The pet tried with all its might to escape from Rose's hands. The Empress asked His Highness to show Rose. The guest bowed and agreed with His Highness. The girl quietly crept into her bedroom so as not to wake her lover. Gideon suddenly grabbed his wife's hand. The guy asked where she was. The emperor admitted that he was cold. He hugged his beloved tightly to himself. The handsome man reported that he felt warmth again. The emperor suggested that his wife do this. Zelda laughed and assumed he was delirious. Her husband asked if his beloved would mind falling asleep with kisses on her lips. The guy said that it was his wish. The empress assumed that the handsome guy wanted her to fulfill it. Gideon said that his wife was better than the gods. The guy said that he would now worship his beloved instead of a deity. The handsome man reminded that he had just woken up and wanted to offer something. Zelda said that she had just kissed her lover. The guy assumed that she was the devil. She kissed the handsome man tenderly. The empress assumed that the devil was more alluring. Rose brought the creature into her room. She slammed the door angrily. The concubine's body shook. The girl admitted that she was sure that something had happened to the baby. The healer asked the wyvern how it could have escaped while she was washing herself. The creature quickly left the cat's body. It reported that there she could call her master faster. Rose reported that because of the creature an innocent maid died. The girl reminded that Her Highness was in trouble. Wyvern admitted that he blamed himself for the death of an innocent girl. He clarified when she realized that he had possessed the cat. Rose said that she had recently tried to decipher the book and had seen something in one of the manuscripts. The girl said that the great wyvern had several abilities. She explained that its ability was borrowing. The healer said that thanks to this one can move into the bodies of other people. The girl admitted that by pure chance she saw the creature and the cat in close proximity. The concubine admitted that she had been running after the maid for a long time. When Rose saw that Her Highness was hugging a cat, she immediately realized that it was a wyvern. The girl said that she found it hard to believe that the creature was a great wyvern. The creature asked to call him by his name from now on. The wyvern warned that it would burn the maid's hair to ashes. The creature said that from now on its name is Tia. The healer assumed that the baby chose this name after hearing the word "you" from Her Highness. With shining eyes, he explained that the girl had named him that. Rose realized that she could not throw away the cat because the empress had promised to visit her. The prince told Rose that he would leave her near the castle. He was afraid that there might be a misunderstanding. The girl thanked him for protecting Her Highness. Norton took his leave. The guest assumed that the three of them would meet with Her Highness. The guy awkwardly jumped onto the windowsill. The minister was amazed that the princess acted so quickly. The prince said that she asked about her son. Martin was glad that his interlocutor had moved the child to a safe place. The guest promised to thank the Archduke for his help. The boy was curious about the scar on the aristocrat's face. The Archduke explained that it was a sign of greeting from His Highness. The spy reminded him that the mercenary warrior who was thought to be dead had returned. Tesler angrily threw a glass in his subordinate's face. The guest asked if there had been any mention of the ill-fated day. The minister was a little confused and asked what they were talking about. Martin assumed the prince was talking about the day the princess betrayed him and followed the king's knights. He shuddered involuntarily. Smiling, Norton remembered his beloved's words. He assured her that Lucretia had no suspicions. The minister assumed that the prince sincerely wanted to believe this sweet lie. The boy realized that he would have to start the game again. Martin clenched his teeth. The minister realized that the princess had to personally push the mercenary off the cliff. The Archduke knew that he could not fully trust Prince Norton's thirst for power. The Empress got up from her bed and looked at her reflection. The girl noticed a luxurious bouquet of roses. Zelda could not understand why her lover had brought these flowers. The Emperor told his beloved that he had been walking in the garden earlier. The guy noticed the beautiful scarlet roses. The handsome man said that they reminded him of his beloved. With a radiant smile, the girl squeezed the bouquet. Zelda noticed the wonderful scent of flowers. She gently touched the petals of the flowers. The Empress abruptly pulled her hand back, noticing that the rose had turned white. Someone suddenly called out to the girl. Zelda flinched. Tesler asked if she had forgotten about the deal. The concubine was lounging in a soft bed. Rose noticed a picture of a sword. The healer assumed it was important. At first glance, there was nothing special about the sword. The girl shuddered when her colleague entered her room. Melanie suggested going on a picnic together. She was clutching a small basket tightly in her hands. The healer shuddered and slammed the book shut. The girl explained that he had planned to have a picnic before Emperor Tabello arrived. Melanie admitted that she couldn't wait for him. The healer hid the book behind her back. She asked why her friend had decided to have a picnic on the day Adrian Mellon arrived. The girl explained that he was a handsome man. The concubine was sure that the guest would not be as handsome as the emperor. Rose reported that a handsome man had already arrived from another country. With glowing eyes, the guest asked who the handsome man was. Melanie's eyes sparkled with delight. The healer suggested that they quickly go on a picnic. The guest asked if she could borrow a book for her friend to take a nap. Rose promised to bring the book soon. The concubine noticed the beautiful weather. Melanie suggested that her friend sit down somewhere and eat. The girl noticed that the area was difficult to get to. She tried to find the perfect place for a picnic. Melanie noticed a girl sitting down near the river. A light wind was blowing her amethyst hair. The concubine assumed that she was a princess and from the kingdom of Châteauneuf. Lucretia assumed that the concubines had also decided to have a picnic. The princess assumed that the girls had not had their wedding night. The guest was sure that Gideon did not care about them at all. Melanie was irritated that the guest dared to communicate with them so rudely. With a trembling voice, the concubine greeted the princess. A friend invited Rose to sit down and eat. Melanie assured her friend that the sandwiches were very tasty. The princess noticed that the duchess was behaving like a real psychopath. Smiling at Lucretia, she reminded him of her status. The girl could not understand how the concubine dared to ignore the princess. Melanie reminded that she was the concubine of Emperor Raphael. The guest noted that the empress did not impose discipline at all. The concubine asked to call Zelda Her Highness. Melanie explained that they called the empress Her Highness. The guest was amazed that they addressed the guest of honor in this way. The girl said that she would not ignore her impudence. Norton ran up to his beloved and asked her to calm down. The prince reminded Lucretia that she shouldn't be on first-name terms. Rosie was very embarrassed because the guy's appearance had changed greatly. The concubine felt embarrassed that she was so embarrassed. Melanie admitted that her friend was talking about the prince. She assumed that he was handsome on the other hand. The guest was very embarrassed by such a phrase. The concubine assured that she had not said such a thing. The girl assured that she had been mistaken and that it had been another handsome man. Lucretia said that she should be consoled because the subjects were very stupid. Melanie asked the lady if she had seen Lady Catherine. Rose reported that the girl's name was Lucretia. The concubine reported that she was the most stupid among them. The prince assumed that the girls got along well with each other. Norton suggested that they go boating together on the lake shore. The concubine said that she did not want to go on a boat ride because she was afraid of sharks. The guest mockingly asked if there would be sharks in the lake for the imperial family. She was sure that all the predators had already been caught. Rose realized that she would be better off sitting and simply reading the book. The guest glanced briefly at the pages of the book. The prince suggested that the manuscript was written in the ancient language of Pashto. The concubine delightedly assumed that he could read this language. Norton was surprised when he saw the Sword of Incarnation. Broken dishes lay on the floor in the empress's room. The girl, clenching her teeth, wrote a letter. The prince asked if the replacement had become too accustomed to her position. Tesler was amazed that the cold-blooded emperor had begun to develop feelings for Zelda. The guy said that because of these thoughts he accidentally poured the medicine into a vase. The empress was disappointed that the terms of their deal had suffered because of some suspicion. Zelda had only one jar left. The prince was sure that his ward was afraid that the emperor would see her true face. The handsome man easily broke the flask. Tesla reported that people met with those who they liked in appearance. The prince assured that he was not there for such conversations, and he said that Bonnie was very sad about the girl. The empress was not going to tolerate Tesler's behavior. She sealed the envelope. She did not want to tolerate it any longer. A blow was heard in the corridor through the closed door. A bouquet of snow-white roses was slowly engulfed in flames. Hissing,